Hello everyone, this is Logan59XP here, and today, well, almost today, well, for some people it's already happened, but essentially, it's time. The end of the road is finally here for one of Nintendo's most successful games of all time. Tomorrow, in just a few hours, although, again, technically speaking, for some people, it's already time. Whatever. You know, you get the idea here. The end of Mario Kart 8 is upon us. And for some people, it's already happened. There's already people out there streaming world in Australia and in other regions. Or people that have gotten their Switches at 9 p.m. It's 9:58, almost 10 o'clock here. So some people have had their Switch 2s for an hour. And they're playing Mario Kart World, and I'm sure they're having a great time. But not us. We have to wait till tomorrow because we're not doing midnight launches. We're waiting on Walmart or Best Buy or Target to ship our things. So I'm in the camp that's waiting on Walmart, and my order still has not been canceled. So hopefully that all works out. It should be here tomorrow. Now, their original claim was 9 a.m. So basically, I'll wake up and it'll be at the front door, which would be awesome, but we'll see. Obviously, well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But anyways, this stream is not about the Switch 2. It's not about Mario Kart World. That is a whole thing we can save for tomorrow. This stream is about Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8, as I already said, is one of Nintendo's most successful games of all time. It is sold, if you combine the original Wii U version from 2014 and the Switch port in 2017. Combined, it's around 75 million copies. Deluxe on its own is the best-selling Switch game at 65 million, and it's not even close. Animal Crossing has a lot with around 40-something. Ultimate has done a lot at around 32. And other games, obviously, like Odyssey, the Pokemon games, and so on, have also done really well. But no game comes close to Mario Kart. Mario Kart has always been a popular game. Mario Kart has always been a popular game. It's been one of their 10 poles for a very long time. But Mario Kart 8 has taken on a life that it was never supposed to. What went from just the Mario Kart for the Wii U has now ballooned into this massive juggernaut of a game that has an insane amount of content, 96 tracks, a ton of characters, and again, is the best-selling Nintendo game whose name isn't Wii Sports of all time. At least, I think Wii Sports is the only other one that sold more, but that doesn't really count because Wii Sports was a bundle game, but you get the idea. Point is, Mario Kart's been through a lot. And with World and the Switch 2 coming out tomorrow, I think it's time that we rode Mario Kart 8 into the sunset. So yeah, that's why we're here. This is going to be kind of our final farewell for the game that became so much more than it was ever supposed to. So yeah. Why am I sitting here stammering? Well, that's because I kind of want to give a little introduction. It's not really panning out the way I intended, but oh well, what are you going to do? Actually, something I wanted to do was I wanted to make a discussion video called The 11-Year Journey of Mario Kart 8, where I really go through the entire, starting from E3 2013 up until the final Booster Course Pass came out with Wave 6. I kind of wanted to do that entire journey since I was there for all of it, and kind of to show how long the game really had gone, and kind of just to give my opinion on the game in general. Now that we have the game in its final form and it's finally being run into the sunset here. But I kept trying to record it over and over and over again, and it just wasn't really panning out. In fact, I tried just a few hours ago to try and record it again. I got to the 40-minute mark, and I was kind of like, you know what? Nah. So you know what we're going to do? As a part of this stream, which I was already going to do. I was always going to do this stream no matter what. But we can talk about my opinion on Mario Kart 8 through the years and kind of go through the journey as we're playing it. We can kill two birds with one stone. We can play Mario Kart 8 and talk about it at the same time. What a concept. So, yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to do today. So we're going to be playing through Mario Kart 8. We're going to play through all the tracks the battle mode in order and do some online matches. Heck, we may even fire up the Wii U version, because as you can see, we're going to do the Switch version, because of course the Switch version is the best version. But there's a part of me that wants to boot up the Wii U version again, although I kind of already did that a year ago for the 10-year anniversary when I streamed the Wii U version already. So maybe we will, maybe we won't, but yeah. So enough rambling. Let's go ahead and get into this. Yeah, Mario Kart 8, man. This game has been with us for 11 years. 11 years. We've been playing this game for 11 years. At least I have. Obviously, I can't speak for everyone, especially because most of the people that have played Mario Kart 8 didn't play it on the Wii U. They played it on the Switch. Again, look at the sales numbers. Most of the people that have played this game, by far, have played the Switch version. Now, it's not quite the lopsided comparison that, say, Breath of the Wild is. I mean, if you have ever seen the sales numbers for Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild sold about like 1.7 million copies on Wii U, and it sold like 32 million on the Switch. So that, you know, not even close. But to be fair, that game came out alongside the Switch, so even most people that had a Wii U just waited and played the Switch version instead when they got a Switch. Now, I am one of those rare people that bought the Wii U version at launch because I couldn't get a Switch on day one, so I played the Wii U version first before I played the Switch version a month later. But Mario Kart is a different story, because Mario Kart has obviously been insanely successful on the Switch. But it was also very successful on the Wii U. And obviously the Wii U was the Wii U. It was obviously Nintendo's biggest failure in terms of in terms of console sales, right? But that doesn't change the fact that Mario Kart still sold really well on that system. The Wii U may have only sold 13.4 million units or whatever the number is, but 8.5 million people still bought Mario Kart 8. And that's still a lot of sales, even for a successful console. Even for the Switch or like a PS5, that'd be pretty decent numbers. Never mind the Wii U. But for the Wii U, like 2/3 of the people that had a Wii U had Mario Kart 8, as opposed to the Switch, where about like maybe 60 to 70% of people have Mario Kart 8, because the Switch has sold, what, 152 million, I believe is the most recent number. And Mario Kart's about 65, but you get the idea. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go through, and we're just going to go through the Grand Prix. We're going to go through the Grand Prix in order as it originally released. So we're going to do all the base game tracks first, and then we're going to do the Wii U DLC, and then we're going to do the booster course tracks. And then we'll, actually, no. We're going to do the battle mode. We'll do some like online battle mode. We'll do some of that after we finish the Wii U DLC, and then we'll do the booster course tracks. That's the correct order. And then maybe we'll fire up the Wii U version. I don't know. We'll see. So let's go ahead and start off classic. Let's just start off with good old Mario and the good old standard kart that we're all very familiar with. Just bog standard, no frills, nothing. So let's go ahead and get this started, baby. And while we're doing that, we can kind of go through the history in probably a very jumbled and not very well thought out mess, but hey, what are you going to do? So here we are. This is the moment where it all began. Mario Kart Stadium, the very first track in the classic kart. So let's go ahead and talk about the history of Mario Kart 8. So let's go ahead and start all the way back at E3 2013. Now, E3 2013 is an E3 that when I think about it, I don't think about Mario Kart 8 almost at all. I mean, I do remember it being at E3 2013. I do. It was obviously one of the big announcements coming out of E3 2013 for Nintendo. But for me, it was always second fiddle to the far bigger release of course, Smash 4. Smash 4, both the Wii U and 3DS versions, were originally announced at E3 2013, and that trailer with Villager and the theme, and, you know, Mega Man and everything, that's obviously an insanely iconic trailer that I'm sure we'll get around to talking about at some point down the line, probably whenever I get around to doing that Smash 4 retrospective that's been long overdue for like a year. But hey, what are you gonna do? But as far as Mario Kart 8 is concerned, I mean, the Mario Kart 8 trailer, if I'm being honest, Really wasn't anything crazy. It was just a normal gameplay trailer, pretty much, that showed off, you know, some of the new tracks. We got to hear some of the new music. And, of course, the big new addition, the Zero Gravity. The anti-gravity mechanic, which is now Mario Kart 8's staple. You know, that's Mario Kart 8's complete staple. That's the thing that makes it unique, and the thing that people will remember it for, outside of the fact that, by the end, it has an insane amount of tracks. But in terms of its core standout feature, it's the anti-gravity. Because, of course, Mario Kart Wii had bikes, Mario Kart 7 had the gliders and the underwater, then Mario Kart 8 brought in Zero Gravity. Zero Gravity, Anti-Gravity, I'm actually not sure what the official term is. It's one of those two. I want to say Zero Gravity is the official term, but I've seen people say Anti-Gravity as well. I don't know, they mean pretty much the same thing. We all know what we're talking about here, but yeah. But yeah, the Zero Gravity mechanic is something they showed off a lot. Like, they had that one section on Toad Harbor with the side wall. You can also see that on Toad's Turnpike and a couple of other base game tracks. That's not in any of the Booster Course tracks as far as I can remember, because of course they're all Tour ports, and Tour doesn't have the Zero Gravity. But a lot of the base game tracks have like those like side walls, you know. Not all of them, but a decent amount of them definitely have those. Again, Toad's Turnpike and Toad Harbor, I know, are two that have that. What's it called? Not Dry Ruins, that's from Mario Kart Wii, but like Bone Dry Ruins, or Bone... You know which one I'm talking about, the one that's in the Final Cup. That one also has it. There's like a bone section before you go flying into like a skull. But yeah, that E3 2013 trailer really wasn't anything special, but obviously it showed us the Zero Gravity mechanic, and it also showed us how damn good the game looks. Mario Kart 8, both at the time and now, is still one of the best looking games Nintendo has ever released, and it still looks great to this day. It's something you can't really appreciate through YouTube because of stream compression, but to anyone that's actually played the game, and let's be real here, with how many copies it's sold, you've definitely played it, I think most people would agree that this game looks absolutely amazing even to this day. It really does look phenomenal still. Now, obviously, it's a Wii U game. It's not perfect, and there are definitely some tracks like Thwomp Ruins or N64, like Yoshi Valley, that I think don't look the greatest, but for the most part, I think the base game still holds up insanely well. And in some respects, arguably looks better than Mario Kart World, at least from an artistic perspective. Now, I understand with Mario Kart World they wanted to do something different. They wanted to go for a more cartoony, more rounded art style, and that's fine and all, but personally I would have preferred if they had just kept the Mario Kart 8 aesthetic going and just made it look better, because Mario Kart 8 was such a good foundation, right? Again, this game still looks great 11 years later, and it looks great on any platform you play it on. You could play it on the Wii U original at 720p, the Switch version like I am here at 1080p, or if you play it on an emulator like Sumu or Ryujinx at 4K, it looks great on all of them. It really is crazy how good of a game they managed to pull off what was essentially a glorified Xbox 360, right? I mean, I love the Wii U, despite its faults, but, I mean, that thing was a glorified Xbox 360, right? It was essentially Nintendo's Xbox 360, like, 6 years after the 360 came out. But it still managed to put out an amazing-looking game like this. I really cannot say enough positive things about the graphics in this game. They hold up insanely well in most of the time. Again, there are some exceptions of ones where you can definitely see the cracks. You can definitely be like, that one doesn't look super great. But most of the base game tracks, as well as the original Wii U era DLC, as well as the deluxe battle courses, all that stuff looks great. So yeah, that was the big takeaway of the Mario Kart 8 reveal, was basically the Zero Gravity and how damn good the game looks. Fast forward a few months to November of 2013, and we get the reveal trailer for Rosalina in Smash 4. Now, what does that have to do with Mario Kart 8? Well, not much, but there is a reference to Mario Kart 8 in the trailer, for those of you that remember, because, of course, there's the segment where Kirby comes flying in on the Warp Star with the Kirby Air Ride theme playing, or the Kirby Air Ride opening theme, I should say. And then it transitions into Mario and DK on Rainbow Road in the Mario Kart 8 standard cart. Now, there's nothing to it beyond that. Again, it's a Smash trailer, but that is a little kind of a reference to Mario Kart 8 and a rare bit of cross-promotion between games, because normally Nintendo doesn't really use other games to promote other games. They don't really do that kind of thing for the most part. And when I say promote, I'm not talking about like, hey, we have Link in Mario Kart. No. I mean like when they do a, hey, we're gonna put this character in this game to promote another game. The only time that really happens is, well, it's Smash, of course. But even that's not strictly speaking true all the time. I mean, there are some exceptions of characters that are clearly added in for promotional purposes, but even Smash doesn't really feel like that most of the time. And even that's kind of an exception, because Smash is this big crossover game. That's the entire purpose of Smash, is to be the big Nintendo and gaming at large crossover, essentially. That's its entire kind of main purpose. I mean, aside from being a fighting game, obviously, but you get my point. Whereas Mario Kart is not really like that. So it's, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting to see that Mario Kart and Smash kind of like crossover in a trailer. Like, obviously we have Mario Kart stages and Mario Kart music, and of course there is a Mario Kart 8 stage in Smash Wii U and in Smash Ultimate, but having him in the trailer, having Mario Kart in the trailer itself is something that's a bit, but especially at the time was a bit, I mean, I think it would make more sense now, because of course we had Mario Kart in like the Mario movie and stuff with Rainbow Road, but back in 2013, that was definitely a lot more strange. But yeah, so we had that Rosalina trailer. And then we had the Mario Kart 8 Direct, which I don't really have much to say about because I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I don't really, it's not nearly as memorable as like the Smash Directs that came out around that time. But it was longer than the Mario Kart World Direct that we ended up getting, of course, a few months ago. And it did have an announcement in it that, at least here in the US, was a big deal, and that was the fact that in that Direct, and I could be wrong. I will admit that. I could be wrong on this. I haven't seen that Direct since it came out in 2014, but I believe it had the announcement that, hey, we're going to have demos at GameStop, and I went to one of those demos. It was around, I believe, mid-May 2014, so like 2 or so weeks, I want to say, before the game itself came out, and me and my brother went to our local GameStop, which is no longer there. It closed in like 2018, 2019. But we went to our local, at the time local GameStop at like kind of the mall complex around here, or kind of like the main mall complex around here, not counting the one that's in the process of dying that I've mentioned in previous streams and videos. That's a different one. But there's another, like, it's not really a mall, but we have another kind of like complex of stores around here, and that's where that GameStop was. That's also where our theater is, but again, that's a whole other conversation. Anyways, they had that Mario Kart 8 demo, and I remember me and my brother played. We went there and we played it for a bit. I remember they had basically all the early tracks. So they had like the Flower Cup and Mushroom Cup, and I think they had the Shell and Banana Cup, but nothing beyond that. So whenever I play a lot of these like early like tracks, especially ones like Sweet Sweet Canyon, I distinctly remember, I always get that memory in my head of playing it during that demo back in 2014. And one thing I also remember is that there was a guy who was older than us. He was probably like an adult, probably in his 20s. I don't actually remember 100% because, you know, this was like 11 years ago. But, you know, there was someone that was older than us at the time. And he was also kind of, you know, in line to play. You know, we all kind of took turns. And when it was his turn, he was kind of like, you know what? Nah, you guys can keep on playing. And that was cool of him. So, you know, shout out to that guy, you know, from 11 years ago for letting us play for a bit longer than we really were supposed to. But, yeah, so I will always cherish that memory of going to play Mario Kart 8 at GameStop during that early demo. And then, of course, that brings us to the game itself, which, of course, launched almost 11 years ago. Well, it did launch 11 years ago. The anniversary was actually about last week. On May 30th here in the US, May 29th in Japan, and the 31st for the rest of the world. So, what do I think about Mario Kart 8 as it was at launch? In its original vanilla form. No DLC, no Booster Course Pass, no Deluxe. Just bone stock launch version 1.0 Mario Kart 8. I would say it was a good game, for sure. There was a lot of stuff I liked in base Mario Kart 8, but it definitely had its flaws. The two biggest flaws with base Mario Kart 8, in my opinion, are the roster, which you know, I think for some people isn't the biggest deal in the world, and it wasn't the biggest deal in the world for me either. It's one of those things that's kind of like, yeah, I wish there were more characters, but it wasn't the end of the world. I mean, the Koopalings did take up a decent amount of the roster, and there were a bunch of characters from, like, Mario Kart Wii, which for the longest time I considered to be the best roster in the series up until the end of the Booster Course Pass, when I think Deluxe pretty much had everyone from Wii in addition to new characters like Pauline. And, of course, Link and all that other stuff from the Wii U version. But essentially, the base roster was basically the core Mario Kart cast. Like, we're talking like the core cast. We're talking, you know, Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Bowser, DK, Wario, Waluigi, you know, Toad, Koopa Troopa. You know, all of like the core characters that would be in any Mario game ever, basically. And then you got the Koopalings, and then you got, like, a couple of extras. Like, you got Pink Gold Peach, which, of course, was memed back in the day by Nathaniel Bandy, striving for originality, and all that stuff. Like, basically, so here's the roster, right? So, basically, this section right here was basically the base roster of Vanilla 8. I mean, obviously, we have two of the Koopalings over here, but you get the idea. This whole section right here is basically the base roster, for the most part. And it's made up of mostly the core Mario characters, babies, and the Koopalings, and that's about it, right? You didn't have Birdo, you didn't have Petey Piranha, you didn't have Wiggler, you didn't have Funky Kong, or even Diddy or Bowser Jr. Like, there were a bunch of, like, these, like, smaller side characters that that were, like, still core to, like, the Mario franchise, but weren't, like, the absolute bare essentials. They weren't in base 8, and heck, they weren't even in the DLC for the most part. We didn't get a lot of them until Deluxe, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So let's go ahead and pick Luigi here. We'll kind of just keep going here with our stock carts here for the next cup. So yeah, the base roster of Mario Kart 8 at launch in May 2014 definitely could have been better. Definitely could have been better, for sure. It was definitely lacking quite a few characters at launch. But you know what? The rest of the game was pretty solid. The tracks were great, the music was great, the graphics were great. The actual core racing was the best it had ever been. Mario Kart 8 pretty much perfected Mario Kart as far as the core racing is concerned, in my opinion. It was really just the roster and one other thing that really just let the Wii U version down. So what's that other thing? What's the other flaw of original Mario Kart 8? And this is a problem that persisted throughout the rest of the Wii U version's life cycle. This was never addressed on the Wii U version. This wasn't addressed until Deluxe, of course. So they did eventually address it, but the Wii U version will forever be shafted with this. And that, of course, is, well, the battle mode. The battle mode in original vanilla Mario Kart 8 was the worst battle mode in the series by far, and it's not even a discussion. Everyone just unanimously agrees it's the worst one, because it just obviously is the worst one. It was only balloon battle, and it didn't even have any real battle tracks. That's really all there has to be said about it. Oh, hey, LAFD Valley response video. Did I say Valley? Valley response videos. Hey, yeah, welcome back. Yeah, it's been a little while. How am I doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. As you can see, I'm playing kind of my last kind of rounds here of Mario Kart 8 as we ride this game into the sunset after 11 years. There's already a lot of people that are playing Mario Kart World in, like, Australia and stuff, but, I mean, this is the US, and I don't have a midnight launch system. I wanted to do a midnight launch. I kind of wanted to do one at Best Buy, but when the pre-orders went up on April 23rd, the way that the cards were dealt was Walmart. So that's where I'm getting my pre-order from, and I'll be showing up. At least according to them, it'll be showing up basically at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So on paper, I will just wake up and it will be there, which will be awesome. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm doing good though. I'm doing good, and it's nice to see you. Welcome back. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the battle mode. The battle mode. So yeah, the battle mode in original Mario Kart 8 was the worst in the series, and it basically didn't even count. Like, I basically never played it. I think there were 1 or 2 times I gave it a shot, but it just never worked. I mean, having no actual battle courses, like, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. It's very obvious that that mode was put together at the last second. I'm not really sure what happened. You know, when the actual core racing is so polished, I have no idea how the battle mode ended up the way it did in vanilla Mario Kart 8. Now, of course, they ended up fixing this down the line in Deluxe, but in the original Wii U version, that is the only battle mode you have, so it basically doesn't count in that game. But generally speaking, vanilla OG base Mario Kart 8, the core racing is great, roster could be better, and the battle mode sucks. That's kind of my opinion on vanilla May 2014 launch Mario Kart 8. But of course, that was only the beginning of this 11-year-long journey of Mario Kart 8. So, of course, not long after the game launched, in August of 2014, we got the very strange and out of nowhere, especially for the time, Mercedes-Benz DLC. The Mercedes-Benz DLC, I believe, was announced before the game came out, but it may have also been like right after. It might have been like an early June thing, but it wasn't a part of E3. Because I know the E3 2014 digital event is probably my favorite E3 of all time, at least for Nintendo, that I've ever seen. It's an absolute classic with so many big announcements in it. And Mario Kart was not mentioned once in that entire presentation, even though they could have easily announced DLC in it. They didn't. They announced DLC later on. But essentially, yeah, that Mercedes-Benz DLC, I distinctly remember when they first announced it, they had that really, what people thought at the time was like this really creepy or just like really weird, like Mario Kart trailer that was like live action and gritty and stuff. And it was on like, and it looked like Mushroomy Kingdom from Brawl. It was kind of weird. But it's also something that's very much stuck in my mind. I will never forget that trailer, that like ultra realistic Mario. It kind of reminds me of like that one SNL sketch from a few years ago with Pedro Pascal, and it's like HBO's Mario Kart. It's kind of like that, but like long before that was a thing. But it was like a weird like Japanese commercial or whatever. Anyways, so the Mercedes-Benz DLC was free, and you know, it was neat. It was weird for sure, especially at the time for Nintendo to do a crossover like that. But hey, it was free kart parts, and it was kind of unique. We had never had real cars in the series before, because of course, you know, Mario Kart is not Forza or Gran Turismo. It's Mario Kart. It's kart racing. It's not supposed to have real cars of any kind, really. But hey, the Mercedes-Benz DLC was weird, but it was neat, and it was free, so there was really no reason to complain either way. And then, of course, we got our first real DLC, the first paid DLC, the first of 2 packs. And, of course, the first pack brought us 2 big changes for the series, one far bigger than the other. The first big addition, or first change, rather, although it wasn't really a big change, it didn't really matter anything, it was just cosmetic, more or less, than anything else. But we did get one thing that has been the case since Mario Kart DS. Mario Kart DS was the first Mario Kart game to introduce retro tracks. Yes, Super Circuit existed and had a bunch of the SNES tracks, but that doesn't really count because that was kind of before it was really introduced. And plus, that was a GBA game. It's Super Circuit. Super Circuit's like the one game in the Mario Kart series everyone kind of forgets exists, even myself. Although I'm sure people that grew up with it would probably disagree with me, but I didn't grow up with it. I grew up with, you know, Mario Kart Double Dash and Wii and DS and 7. Like, yeah, I grew up with, like, you know, the Wii U, DS, 3DS era, and Double Dash. Double Dash was my first Mario Kart game, but, you know, I never played Super Circuit until way later, and even then I barely played it, because, I mean, it's basically an upgraded version of Super Mario Kart, so it's not really something I'm interested in, but that's beside the point. Anyways, point is, Mario Kart DS was the first Mario Kart game to introduce full-on retro tracks, where we had, you know, the banana and the shell, cup, and all that stuff, which has been a staple, you know, up until now. Even Mario Kart World still has those retro cups, even though they're not retro anymore, but I'm kind of spoiling myself here. So, anyways, in that original first wave of the Wii U DLC, they dropped the entire concept of the top row being new courses and the bottom row being retro courses. That died with the first Wii U DLC, where they combined both new courses and old courses into the same cup. As opposed to up until that point where, you know, the top row, Mushroom, Flower, Star Special was all new courses, and then Shell, Banana, and so on were all retro courses. That's been the case up until that point. That died with the first Wii U DLC, with like the the Triforce Cup and the Bell Cup and all that stuff. That's when they officially just abandoned that entire mentality, and that's something that's continued to this day. They continued that with the rest of the Wii U DLC. They continued that with the Booster Course Pass, and they continued it with Mario Kart World. So yeah, the whole retro is retro and new is new for the cups doesn't mean anything anymore. Now it's just they put whatever tracks they want in whatever cup they want. It doesn't really make any real difference, but that is a change that we got in that first DLC pack. But what was the far, 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 far bigger change was the addition, for the first time ever, for the most part. I know Rob was a thing in Mario Kart DS, but that's kind of an exception and also kind of not really a big character. So not counting Rob, we got for the first time ever a non-Mario character in Mario Kart in the form of Link. We got Link and the Master Cycle, not to be confused with the Master Cycle Zero from the Breath of the Wild DLC. That's completely different. The original Master Cycle, which is only in Mario Kart 8. We got that. We got Link, and we got Hyrule Castle as a stage. Or a track, rather. That was obviously really cool, and then we, of course, also got Villager and Isabelle later on in Wave 2. We also got the addition of Mute City. We got F-Zero in a Mario Kart game, which frankly was pretty fitting, considering that obviously, F-Zero is their other big notable franchise. I mean, for racing, obviously F-Zero is nowhere near as popular as Mario Kart, but F-Zero was their other big racing series, and of course it's famously been in hiatus for a long, long time. It's still 20 years after GX and Climax on the GBA. Ever since, well, GX was on the GameCube, and it's going to be on the NSO GameCube stuff at launch for Switch 2, but that's beside the point. Point is, it's been 20 years since the last new game. The closest thing we have gotten to a new F-Zero game is F-Zero 99. And that doesn't really count, because it's basically a souped-up version of the Super Nintendo original. But it's something, I'll give it that. But yeah, but obviously F-Zero is a whole other conversation. But it was nice that, hey, if we're not going to make a new F-Zero game, let's at least put F-Zero in our other big racing game. So that was cool. It was a great, got a great music. We got a great remix of the, the Mute City theme that we're all very familiar with. And the track itself was also pretty good, too. And then in Wave 2 of the DLC, we got Villager and Isabelle and an Animal Crossing stage, again continuing the theme of adding more non-Mario characters. And then we got Dry Bowser back, and we got, a Big Blue. We got Big Blue, another F-Zero track with another great remix. And I think Big Blue is probably one of the best tracks in Mario Kart 8. Like, I'm not sure what my favorite track from Mario Kart 8 is. And to be clear, when I say from Mario Kart 8, I mean it's from the game, not in it. Like, obviously there's like 96 tracks in Mario Kart 8 these days. So when I say my favorite track from Mario Kart 8, I mean original track, not like a remade track, not an old track. I think Big Blue might be my favorite. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's definitely a top 3. It's also one of the tracks where it doesn't, like, in fact, I think it might be the only one actually in that game. I could be wrong about this, but I think it's the only track in Mario Kart 8, maybe in the entire series up until that point, where you don't go through laps. You don't go through the usual 3 laps. You go through one long stretch. Like, it's one long track as opposed to 3 laps of a normal track like every other track in the game is. Unless your name is Baby Park, obviously. Baby Park is obviously a special exception. But yeah, the original Wii U DLC was solid, but I think could have been better in the characters department. Like, all the new tracks were good. We got the Excite Bike track, we got a bunch of good remakes of old tracks. GBA Cheeseland. I want to talk about GBA Cheeseland real quick. This is a track that on its own, I don't really have strong feelings for as an actual track. But I think GBA Cheeseland from the second Wii U DLC is probably the best looking track in the entire game. It looks so freaking good. And I know I've talked about how the base game looks great already, but Cheeseland is like a step even beyond that. Like, it looks so good. It's crazy that it looks that good on the Wii U, that the Wii U was able to pull that off. Like, I guess it goes to show that, like, if you know what you're doing, you know, you really can pull off some beautiful visuals on a glorified Xbox 360. But we've already talked about that before. So yeah, base Mario Kart 8, or rather the original Wii U version at this point. When it was all said and done, with the Mercedes-Benz and the first 2 DLC packs, and 200cc, a mode that I personally don't care too much about, because it's a cool idea. 200cc is a cool idea, I will give it that. But it doesn't really work in this game, because this game isn't really designed for it. You need tracks that are designed with it in mind. Otherwise, you're just going to be slamming against the wall every corner, which is how it works for me most of the time. Obviously, there are people that like 200cc, and I guess for those people, it is a bit of a shame that it's not in Mario Kart World, at least at launch. One of the producers, Yabuki, who's produced the last couple of Mario Kart games and was also the creator of ARMS, he mentioned that, like, you know, he kind of left the door open for, like, maybe later we'll get it. He didn't strictly really even allude to it that strongly, but he kind of implied that we could be getting it later, and I don't see why we wouldn't, especially because Mario Kart World probably is a lot more fit for a 200cc mode because of the fact that it has those long kind of highway segments in between tracks. That'd be perfect for 200cc. But I don't know. We'll probably get it later, but we'll see. That's a whole other thing, though. So yeah, the original Wii U DLC with Link and Villager and F-Zero and all that stuff. Now, there is 2 complaints I have with the original Wii U DLC. The first complaint is that Tanuki, kind of going back to the whole thing of, like, the Mario Kart 8 roster not being the greatest, is Tanuki Mario and Cat Peach really did not need to be a thing. Like, they really did not need to be a thing. I can understand Cat Peach because of 3D World being the current Mario game at the time, but why do we need Tanuki Mario? Well, what about 3D Land? I guess, but that game was a few years old at that point. I don't know. I think that both of those characters really didn't need to be there. They're kind of in the same row as, you know, your pink gold peaches in characters that really don't need to exist. And what's kind of funny is that, as far as I know, they're not in Mario Kart World. Because, of course, Mario Kart World formally introduced the idea, in the console games at least, of having skins. But as far as I know, those 2 skins are not in that game. Which isn't a big deal. I don't think anyone's going to be missing them, really. But if they were going, that would have been a kind of... See, like, that would have been totally fine. I have no issue with them as skins, but they should not be taking up a slot. You know, when we could be getting, you know, other characters, you know. And obviously this isn't quite like Smash, where, like, people are way more heated on Smash when it comes to characters than Mario Kart. But, yeah, I don't know. Tanuki Mario and Cat Peach really didn't need to be a thing. Obviously, Link was a great addition. The Villagers and Isabelle were also cool. And we got Dry Bowser back as well, so that's one more Mario Kart Wii character back. Even though it's not a character I personally ever really played as much. But hey, it was cool to have him back. And yeah, all the tracks we got were cool. The F-Zero track stuff was cool. So yeah, I would say Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, in its final form, was definitely a good game, and had a better roster than it did at launch, and has a lot of great tracks, but, again, the battle mode, that's the big thing that holds back it's the battle mode. That's the big thing that holds back the Wii U version. It has a decent roster when it's all said and done, even if it's still not great, and it has a lot of great tracks, great music, great visuals, but the battle mode, that's the big holdup. But we wouldn't have to wait too long before we got that resolved. So fast forward a year and a half to the Switch's reveal on October 20th, or 21st? Was it the 20th or 21st? It was one of those two. 2016. Where we got that small itty-bitty glimpse, albeit small, of Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. And we saw King Boo on Yoshi's Island, which was already in the Wii U DLC, so that wasn't anything new. But King Boo was new. He was in Mario Kart Wii, but was not in 8. So that was great to see, because I do like King Boo. And we got the double item boxes back, which haven't been seen since Double Dash, and have been a thing that's been in the series ever since then. I don't think it's in Tour, but they are in World. World does have the double item boxes, and at this point, there's really no reason to get rid of them. You know, they're cool. There's really no reason to not have them. Although I don't think Tor has them. But hey, it's Tor, and Tor doesn't really matter that much, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, then we got, but basically Deluxe. Let's talk about Deluxe. The base game Deluxe. What does Deluxe add that makes it the superior edition of Mario Kart 8? Well, first things first, they add a couple new characters. Again, we got King Boo in that original teaser, but we also got Bowser Jr. back, and we got Dry Bones back. So again, that's a couple more Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart Double Dash characters that we got back. So that was cool. We were still missing a couple. We still didn't have PD Piranha. We still didn't have Funky Kong, although at that point I never thought they were going to add Funky Kong back. Kind of thought he was going to stay trapped in Mario Kart Wii forever, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But hey, we got a decent couple of characters back, but there were still some obvious additions like Diddy Kong. How they added Bowser Jr. to Deluxe, but didn't add Diddy Kong, I have no idea. When Diddy Kong and Bowser Jr. should have just been in the base game of 8 in the first place, but whatever. We got a couple of those characters, and of course the big new Nintendo editions of Inkling. We got both Inkling Boy and Inkling Girl. So that was obviously really cool. As a big Splatoon fan, I was very happy to see that. And we also got some new karts based off of Splatoon as well. And we got a Splatoon battle stage, which brings us to the big change, the big new addition, the #1 reason for everyone that already had the Wii U version to buy this version. The new revamped battle mode that single-handedly takes the worst battle mode in series history and makes it the best battle mode in series history. They took the worst battle mode with only balloon battle and no real stages to a battle mode with 5 modes and 8 proper unique battle tracks. Some of them old, some of them new. All the new ones were based on existing Mario Kart 8 tracks, but they were indeed proper battle arenas. They were not repurposed tracks like they were with original Mario Kart 8. They were proper, new, actual battle tracks, just in the style of some of the base game tracks. Like we had Mario Kart Stadium, and then we had the Sweet Sweet Canyon one, and we also had the one that was based on that one, like, Chinese-themed DLC track. We had that one as well. And then we also had some old ones, like we had Woohoo Island from 3DS, Woohoo Town rather. We had that one in there, and we had SNES Battle Course 1, so we had a classic one in there as well. And we had Luigi's Mansion from Double Dash. And then finally, my favorite, with only a little bit of bias, keyword strong bias here, but still, my favorite battle mode track, which of course is Urchin Underpass. We got Urchin Underpass in Mario Kart 8 as a battle mode track, so that was obviously really cool to see. We of course got the, you know, Splatak in there and everything, and it looks fantastic. It's really, really cool. My only complaint is that it's only in that game. Why they never added it to Splatoon 2 or 3, I have no idea. So the only way to play Urchin Underpass on a Switch and not on the Wii U is via Mario Kart 8. That's like really weird, but either way, it was still really cool. So yeah, all the new battle mode tracks were cool. Urchin Underpass was great. And we got all those new characters. So that was the main addition. Now, the one thing I would say that was disappointing about Base Game Deluxe was the fact that there was no new tracks. There was no new race tracks. Now, for the 65 million people who probably played Mario Kart 8 for the first time on Switch and didn't pour hundreds of hours into the original Wii U version, that was fine, because to them, the base game and the Wii U DLC is all new to them. But for the 8.5 million people, myself included, that played Mario Kart 8 from the very beginning and already put a lot of hours into it, there wasn't much of an incentive to play the racing tracks on Mario Kart 8 on Switch when we had already played them to death on the Wii U, at least speaking for myself. And obviously those tracks were still all great, but by that point, you know, I was kind of burnt out on them. So I played the battle mode for a while, but once I kind of had my fill of the new battle mode, I kind of stopped playing Mario Kart 8 for quite some time because, again, I'd already played the actual racetracks to death on Wii U, so I really would only play Mario Kart 8 on Switch, you know, every once in a while for years, and it was never a regular thing for me like it used to be on the Wii U. And then, of course, in 2018, out of nowhere, we got the Breath of the Wild update that added in the Master Cycle Zero and the Breath of the Wild skin and the new glider. And that was it. But it was a free update that came out of nowhere, so sure, why not? And then begins the long dark period from 2018 until 2022. A good 4 years where nothing Mario Kart related, on console at least, was happening. The only thing during this time that we knew of that was happening in the Mario Kart space was Tour. And of course, Tour had launched in 2019 and has been a controversial game for basically its entire life cycle for a variety of reasons. The biggest one being that it's a free-to-play mobile microtransaction gacha game. And obviously those are not exactly popular, but it was the one Mario Kart game during that time that was actually getting new content and even getting new tracks in the form of Ninja Hideaway and Squeaky Clean Sprint. Well, actually, no, that one didn't come out until a lot later, but you get the point. And of course, all the city tracks like Tokyo Blur and Paris Promenade and Berlin Byways. Basically, for a good couple years, Mario Kart Tour was the only way to get new Mario Kart content. If you were playing Mario Kart 8, you were just stuck with base game deluxe. You just had to play that for years with nothing new. And again, if you're like me and you started with the Wii U version at launch, then you were already kind of tired and sick of playing all of those base game tracks over and over again because you had played them so much on the Wii U version. So unless you really liked battle mode, eventually I kind of just stopped playing it. Nothing against the game, it's just I'd played it enough already, I had my fill of Mario Kart 8 at that point. I'd played it enough, and that was kind of it. But then, of course, during that time, as we know now, they were working on Mario Kart World. They were working on it all the way back in 2017. Once Deluxe was out the door, they basically hit the ground running, starting up production on Mario Kart World. And it was originally supposed to launch on the Switch. It was supposed to be a Switch 1 game. But then, of course, as we found out in that recent interview, that it turns out, no, it didn't come out on the Switch 1, and it's because the Switch 1 wasn't good enough. They would have had to make too many compromises. They didn't want to make, like, lowering the world detail or changing the design of the world. Or, and this is the big one, I think, making it 30 FPS. And that would have been a big hit right there. But they decided they didn't want to do any of that. So they decided in 2020 that they were going to push Mario Kart World back and release it on the Switch 2. And in the meantime, we would get essentially a stopgap in the form of the Booster Course Pass. Now, I had speculated for years that the Booster Course Pass only existed because we weren't getting a Mario Kart game on the Switch, and this was essentially their way of holding us over until that actually happened on the next generation system whenever it launched in, 2024, 2025, whenever. And of course, now, they don't directly say that in the interview, but it's definitely implied that that's the reason why the Booster Course Pass exists, because they mentioned that the Booster Course Pass started, they kind of started working on it when they decided to push back World to the Switch 2. So in my opinion, I'm taking that as them basically confirming that, yes, the Booster Course Pass only exists because World got pushed back. If World had released in, 2021, 2022 or whatever, on the Switch 1, we would have never gotten the Booster Course Pass, and Mario Kart 8 would have ended with Deluxe, with the new battle mode, and with that Breath of the Wild Link update. That would have been the end. We wouldn't have gotten anything after that point. Now, I think the Booster Course Pass was ultimately a good idea, and was definitely something that was a big boon for the game, especially for a while. Even with the issues it does have, especially early on. So, since we've established that, yes, the Booster Course Pass was coming, let's talk about the Booster Course Pass. This, of course, was first announced in March of 2022, 5 years after the game launched on Switch, and 7 years after the game... No, 8 years. Was it 8 years at that point? Or was it 7? Whatever. Long enough since the game launched on Wii U. Long enough, in my opinion at least. We finally got new Mario Kart content, not in the form of a new game, but in the form of the Booster Course Pass. And immediately, one thing about the Booster Course Pass became immediately evident. This was not being given the full Mario Kart 8 treatment. This was clearly something being done as a stopgap, something to tie us over until the actual next game was ready. Because it was very obvious from those early screenshots of Sky Garden and Coconut Mall that these were not remade from the ground up for Mario Kart 8 like the base game and the original Wii U DLC and the battle mode were. No, these were all ports from Tour. And that was very controversial at the time, particularly in those initial first wave. Wave 2 to an extent, but especially Wave 1. Wave 1 more so than the waves that come after it. Wave 2 was good enough, I would say, for the most part, and Wave 3 pretty much was fine from that point onward. The Booster Course Pass definitely got better visually as it went along, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, that initial first wave of the Booster Course Pass was definitely controversial because of how jarring of a change it was graphically from the base game of Mario Kart 8 that we were all used to, and the fact that some of the tracks really didn't look that great. Like, Toad Circuit and Shroom Ridge had textureless grass. Now, to be clear, they're not literally textureless. If you look closely, the texture is there. But it's so small and invisible that it basically doesn't have them. So when you're going past Toad's Circuit on that initial turn, it just looks like a green sludge on the ground with no texture. Same thing for Shroom Ridge, although Shroom Ridge has a better shade of green, but they both have that issue of not really having any big texture. But that's not to say that the Wave 1 didn't have its highlights. Like, we got Ninja Hideaway, and while Ninja Hideaway was clearly in a tour track, it was not hidden at all. It was clearly a tour track, but it was still a fun track that's considered to be one of the highlights of those initial waves for sure. And we still got classic tracks like Coconut Mall, and Coconut Mall, while it does have some changes even beyond the graphics, like the fact that they no longer have the Miis and the cars, and initially they didn't even have moving cars at all. They added moving cars in the Wave 2 patch, but even with some of the changes that they made, particularly in the parking lot segment near the end of the track, Coconut Mall is still Coconut Mall no matter what it is. So it's obviously still a great addition. And, you know, we got Coconut Mall, we got Choco Mountain, we got Tokyo Blur and Paris Promenade, the first two tour city tracks, as well as a couple of others. So Wave 1 was definitely the weakest wave, certainly in terms of visuals, but it was the beginning of a new era for Mario Kart 8. And then, of course, we got Wave 2, which brought us even more tracks, and then Wave 3, and then Wave 4, 5, and 6, progressively getting better and better as time went along, with some standout tracks in terms of graphics being Waluigi Stadium in Wave 4, which has a really good dirt texture that helps it look a lot better than some of the other tracks in the game. I mean, you can still tell it's a tour track. There are other aspects of it that give it away, but that dirt texture does a lot to make it feel a lot better than it probably normally would be. As well as some other ones, like, of course, the Rainbow Roads tend to look pretty good for the most part. All of the texture on the planets could be better, but overall, solid. I couldn't possibly list all of them. I don't have them all up on my screen right now, but generally speaking, the Booster Course Pass got better as it went along, for the most part. There are one or two exceptions, like in my opinion, Athens Dash really doesn't look that great, and it's a Wave 5 track, and most of the Wave 5 tracks look just fine. Or to be more specific, they look good by Booster Course standards. They don't look good by base game standards, but they look good by Booster Course standards, with the one exception, I think, being Athens Dash. That one has some very apparent, like, Monopoly, like, hotel, house-looking models in the background that really bug me. But it's still a fun track, though, and it's a better track just from a layout perspective than some of the earlier tour tracks, like Tokyo Blur or even Paris Promenade. But graphics-wise, I think I actually prefer those other two tracks, even though they're Wave 1 tracks, but that's beside the point. Also, the Bangkok track, Bangkok Rush, I think also doesn't look the greatest, although that might be down to the lighting. I mean, obviously they're going for, like, a very, you know, kind of sunset, you know, Southeast Asian kind of vibe, because, I mean, obviously it's in Southeast Asia, and I get that, but I feel like the assets don't really support it. I don't know, I just feel like that one doesn't look as good as it could, but generally speaking, Some of them actually look really good, like DS Mario Circuit. DS Mario Circuit, I think, is actually that one, in terms of sheer fidelity, is basically a base game track. It's not the base game art style, but in terms of sheer fidelity, it's basically a base game track. It looks shockingly good, even though you wouldn't think it would look that good. Like, the trees especially look really good in that, and I don't know why they didn't use those trees more often, because those trees look better than the trees they used in a lot of the other of the tour tracks, but I don't know. Or a lot of the other booster course patches, I should say. Now, one other aspect of the booster course pass that was very strange was that halfway through, starting in Wave 4, they started to introduce new characters. First, we got Birdo, returning from Mario Kart Wii and Double Dash, a long-awaited and welcome change, along with some new color options, similar to what Yoshi and Shy Guys had already. And then, in Wave 5, we got Wiggler and Kamek. Wiggler returning from Mario Kart 7, and Kamek, I believe, was in Tour, but was new for the console games. And then we got the big one in Wave 6, where we got Funky Kong returning. Everyone loves Funky Kong, is one of the most popular characters in the series. Fully retained with his Mario Kart Wii iconic screams. They did not re-record his lines whatsoever, and they definitely shouldn't. They should never re-record Funky Kong's lines, because Funky Kong's sound effects, his voice in Mario Kart Wii is iconic. Of course they kept it in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You know, I hit you. I can't do it justice. You know, we all know it. All of us that grew up on Mario Kart Wii, we all know how iconic that Funky Kong, those Funky Kong voices are. And they kept that completely from Mario Kart 8, so that was great. And then we got Pauline, which I think is a very welcome addition, because Pauline has gotten a lot of resurgence in recent years. Obviously, for the longest time, she was only really known for being, you know, Mario's original girlfriend, being the original damsel in distress from the original Donkey Kong game. But then she got appearances in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, which were a thing for a while until they stopped making them. We never got one on the Switch outside of the remake, which I don't really count because that's based on like the newer formula and not the one I'm more familiar with from the DS and 3DS era. We never got a new game of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Not that we really need it anymore. I feel like the franchise had kind of run its course by that point, but yeah, but I was actually a big fan of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games as a kid, but I can understand why they didn't make any more after a while, because they kind of ran their course. But anyways, not counting the remake, obviously. But yeah, we got Pauline, and Pauline got her first big breakout role since the original Donkey Kong in Mario Odyssey. That's when she finally became mainstream again, and ever since then, she's appeared in a lot more things. You know, she's in Smash Ultimate, not as a playable character, mind you, but she's in Smash Ultimate on the Odyssey stage. And she's also appeared in Tour, she's appeared in Mario Party Jamboree, she's appeared in Mario Strikers Battle League, and then she's in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and she's also in Mario Kart World. So I think at this point, she has cemented herself as one of the staple, you know, Mario girl characters, right? Right alongside Peach and Daisy and Rosalina. She is one of the gals, right? She is one of the gals of the Mario Kart roster. I expect her to be in basically every spin-off going forward, and frankly, they should keep her around, because Pauline is a cool character, and it's nice that they're doing more stuff with her again. And she is going to be in the new DK game, because while they haven't officially revealed it yet, we did get a leak from Nintendo Korea that Pauline is indeed in DK Bonanza, so that's cool. No Diddy, though, as far as we know. Instead, we have that new rock character, but maybe Diddy is in it, and we just haven't seen him yet. Because he does have an updated design, because, of course, DK has his updated design that first appeared in the Mario movie, and then it was in Mario Kart World, and now it's in the new DK game, and that's his new design. I know that my friend Ethan is actually a big fan of that design. He really likes the new design. I don't hate it or anything, but I won't lie and say I still prefer the original, well, not the original, but, you know, the classic Rare design that we all know so well. I probably will always prefer that one just because it's the one that was around for so long, but hey, the new design's fine. I'm sure I'll get used to it the more time goes on. So, yeah, we got Pauline, so that's cool. And then they capped it all off with Wii Rainbow Road, and I could not think of a more fitting track to end not only the Booster Course Pass on, but the end of Mario Kart 8, the end of the long decade-long journey, ended with Wii Rainbow Road, one of the most beloved, iconic Rainbow Roads in the series, with one of the most iconic Rainbow Road themes in the series, and they did a fantastic job with the remix of Rainbow Road Wii. Like, it sounds fantastic. It obsoletes the original, in my opinion. It's one of, like, if you were to ask me, what are the best remixes? The best remixes are the ones that obsolete the original, where, like, I feel no need to listen to the original ever again. This version just replaces it. There's not that many of them. Like, there's a lot of great remixes out there, but they don't necessarily replace the original. But there are a couple that I think fall into this category. One of them is a Fever, aka the Dr. Mario theme from Melee. It basically obsoletes the original. It basically is the original to most people. Another one that's not video game related is I Need a Hero, the famous Shrek 2 version. Basically is the original to people, at least from my generation, that grew up with the Shrek movies. You know, that version of, you know, I Need a Hero is basically that is I Need a Hero. And the original version's good too, obviously, but that Shrek 2 version is just such a classic. It's such an absolute classic, right? I think that Rainbow Road Wii is kind of in that same vein. Probably not as strong overall, but it's a really good remix. Like, I feel no need to ever listen to the original version ever again. Like, why listen to the original Wii one, which is still good, when the 8 one is just better. It's just better. There's, like, no downside to it. And it's such, and it's very emotional, too, because you can really feel the love in that remix of the track. Like, they know how important that track is to people, and the fact that this is the send-off of Mario Kart 8. This is the end. This is the end of the longest-running Mario Kart game ever. And I think they gave it a fitting send-off. So yeah, Mario Kart 8, man. It's been through a hell of a lot. From the original reveal at E3 2013 all the way to the end of the Booster Course Pass in 2023. It's been through a lot. And it was never intended to last this long. Like I said, the Booster Course Pass was only made because they delayed World. If World had come out when it was supposed to on the Switch 1, we never would have got the Booster Course Pass. Which also means that Deluxe existing at all was always intended to be a stopgap, which means that there were 2 stopgaps. We had Deluxe itself, which was the first stopgap, that they were always going to do anyway, so they could have a Mario Kart on the Switch at launch. And then we got a second stopgap with the Booster Course Pass. So they had 2 stopgaps. Although the Booster Course Pass is probably the more obvious one that's a stopgap, because they literally only made it because the other game wasn't ready. But yeah, so that's Mario Kart 8 for you. That took us about an hour. So it took us the first 4 cups for us to kind of go through the journey of Mario Kart 8. Yeah. I know I didn't really go into a lot of detail on how I feel about the tracks themselves. Oh, I just realized something. So, spoiler alert. I was planning to play the credit sequences from all 3 games, or all 3 credit sequences, at the end of the stream, and I'm still going to do that, but I didn't even think about the fact that me playing through the cups is going to make them appear anyway. Oh well, it is what it is. Yeah, spoiler alert, for the very end of the stream, I'm going to play the original Mario Kart 8 credit sequence, the updated credit sequence from Deluxe, which is the one you're seeing right now, and then the Booster Course Pass credit sequence. Even though I'll probably be playing it, like, right after I beat the Booster Course Pass anyway, and we see it in the first place. I don't know. I didn't really think about that, admittedly. I didn't think about the fact that we were already going to see the credit sequences anyway, but whatever. We'll keep with that plan. Why not? This is the end of an era. I think it deserves the send-off. So we'll play those 3 credit sequences at the very end. For the kind of finale screen before the stream cuts off, so yeah. Yeah, I love this this credits theme. This is the best credits theme in the series. aside from the one that comes right after it. Now, I don't know what the credits theme for World sounds like yet. I haven't heard it. And I don't want to hear it until I experience it myself. Which, by the way, I'm very curious how, like... So, normally when a new Nintendo game comes out, people just dump the game and dump the audio files, and that's how we get them. But, of course, the Switch 2, being a new console, people aren't going to be able to dump the games immediately. We're going to have to wait until people, you know, get homebrew running on there when they find an exploit. So until then, how are we going to rip music? Well, my guess is they're just going to plug it into the headphone jack and do it that way, or they're just going to record the audio with a capture card, like kind of like what we're doing right now, and they'll just have all the sound effects turned off or something if you can do that. Because you can do that in Smash. I don't know if you can do that in Mario Kart, though, but in Smash you can, like, turn off the sound effects and stuff, or you can turn off the music and only have sound effects. Like, if you can do that in Mario Kart World, that'll make it easier to, like, kind of, be able to upload, the music and stuff. Now, of course, another thing we could do is Nintendo could just put the music on Nintendo Music at first, but they're not going to do that because Nintendo Music has kind of the same thing as NSO, where it's a slow trickle. There is a decent amount of music on Nintendo Music, and I do use it every once in a while. Now, I have a ton of music of varying types on, like, a hard drive that I use Plex to stream from. So that's what I use when I want to listen to, like, music most of the time anyway. But it's nice to have Nintendo Music as a backup, especially if I'm on the go and I want to listen to, like, Mario Kart or whatever. Because I do listen to the Mario Kart 8 soundtrack a decent amount, especially lately, obviously, with the lead-up to World, but... The Mario Kart 8 soundtrack, especially the Booster Course Pass. I mean, the base game... I mean, okay. One aspect of the Booster Course Pass you cannot rag on. Say what you will about those early Wave 1 tracks. Say what you will about them all being tour ports, even the better ones. But the soundtrack is just as good as the base game. They did not skimp on the soundtrack. It gets the full Mario Kart 8 big band sound jazz treatment. I mean, obviously not every track sounds like that, but the music was not a second tier thing at all. It got the full soundtrack treatment. So the music in the Booster Course Pass is just as good, if not better, than the music in the base game. Like, people love to crap on Toad Circuit, and Toad Circuit is by no means a great track. It really did not need to be there. It's one of the easiest ones they could have not had in the Booster Course Pass. But the music, the remix. Okay, I know I was just talking about how Rainbow Road's remix basically obsoletes the original. No, forget that. You want to know one that really obsoletes it? The Toad Circuit remix from the Booster Course Pass is it is actually perfect. It is actually perfect, like, genuinely, without a it genuinely is perfect. Because not only does it sound amazing, but it's also just Mario Kart 8 at its best. Like, it's got that full big band jazz feel. It's amazing. And that's in Wave 1, the worst wave of the Booster Course Pass. And that Toad Circuit remix absolutely is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, like, unironically. It's, like, unironically one of the best songs in the whole game for one of the least interesting tracks in the whole game, but the music is incredible. Like, gee, like, actually, though, I know I'm sounding like I'm really hyping it up, but it really is that good. Like, okay, that one obsoletes the original. I haven't heard the original in a long time, but I did listen to it. And, it's kind of like, yeah, it's fine. The original Mario Kart 7 version is okay, but the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version in the Booster Course Pass absolutely eviscerates it. It actually does just replace the original. Like, genuinely. There's actually no reason to listen to the original. The remix is actually that good. I can understand listening to the Wii, because the Wii versions of the Mario Kart Wii soundtrack is iconic. All those versions still sound great. But generally speaking, the Mario Kart 8 versions are better, and there's not much of a reason to go back. But with Toad Circuit, though, I mean, there's literally no reason to not. There's literally no reason to listen to the original. The remix is that good. It's Mario Kart 8 at its best. Like, if you were to say, like if you were to ask me, like, what's the track I would show to someone, like, to show them how great the Mario Kart 8 soundtrack is, honestly, Toad's Circuit would not be a bad option. For as uninteresting and kind of bland as the actual track layout is, the music is perfect. It's actually perfect. So yeah. The music in the Booster Course Pass is amazing. Now, there are one or two tracks that I'm not a big fan of, but I like most of the tracks in the Booster Course Pass, and some of them are some of my favorites in the whole game. So yeah, that's it. That's Mario Kart 8. So of course now we are here beginning yeah, we still have this cup, and then we have like a bunch of, and then we still have we have a lot of cups to do. We have a lot of cups to do, man. Like, we've been going for about an hour, and we still have all the retro cups, plus the Wii U cups, plus the Booster Course cups. But hey, if we go till 2 a.m. or whatever, I got nothing else to do. And we're just waiting on Walmart at this point. So yeah, I guess, now what do we talk about? What are we gonna talk about now? I'm not really sure, honestly. I mean, I know that normally that happens, but this stream is one where I had something very specific in mind. So, what do we talk about now? Well, I want to keep Mario Kart on the brain, so why don't we go through and let me give a brief kind of just... Let me just go ahead and bring up all of the tracks here on the wiki here on the other monitor, and let me just go ahead and give you a brief summary of my thoughts on every single track in the game, real briefly. So let me go ahead and bring it up. Okay, here's the base game tracks. Okay. So, let's go through all the base game tracks. So, first things first, Mario Kart Stadium. The very first one. I think Mario Kart Stadium is one of the better first tracks, because normally the very first track, the Mario Stadium, Mario Circuit, and there technically are two of them in this game. Normally there's only one, but this game has both Mario Kart Stadium and Mario Circuit. Mario Circuit is like the one that's more well known because it's the one that's on the box art and it's the one that's in Smash. But Mario Kart Stadium is the very first track in the game. I think Mario Kart Stadium is probably... I think I like that one more, even though it's a more standard track compared to Mario Circuit, where the entire thing is that, hey, look, it's 8. It's the infinity symbol. That's the whole idea, right? And that's neat and all, and obviously it's a whole zero gravity showcase, and there is zero gravity on Mario Kart Stadium, but I think I just prefer Mario Kart Stadium overall, honestly. Even though I think Mario Circuit looks better visually. And again, it's one of the most iconic tracks in the game. But yeah, Mario Kart Stadium, though, I like Mario Kart Stadium. I think as, you know, first tracks go, it's a good one. Water Park... Not a very original name right there. Water Park, wow. Yeah, Water Park is fun. It looks really good as well. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about that one. I like it. Sweet Sweet Canyon. Again, this one has a lot of nostalgia from that original GameStop demo. I think I like... do I like it more than Water Park? I'm not sure, actually. They might be about... I think I like Water Park more. I think I like Water Park more. But not by much. I think they're kind of in the same tier. And then we have Thwomp Ruins. Now, Thwomp Ruins, I think it might actually be my least favorite of the first cup, of the Mushroom Cup. I think it might actually be my least favorite. Yes, even I think I might like Mario Kart Stadium more than Thwomp Ruins. I know, that's kind of weird. I'm sure a lot of people would find that very strange. But I don't know. Thwomp Ruins is a stage that I feel like I used to like more back in the day as opposed to now. I mean, it's not a bad track by any means. It's totally fine. But I don't know. It's just something about it visually. I think it's because it's one of the tracks that it's like, again, the base game of Mario Kart 8 looks great. But I think that's one of the weaker tracks visually where you can kind of see the cracks, where you can see that, oh yeah, this is indeed a Wii U game still. Like, the geometry is not the greatest, and the texture on the ground for the actual road is not as good as other tracks. So, I don't know. It's one that, like, you know, it's totally fine, but I think that might actually be my least favorite of the Mushroom Cup. Then we have the Flower Cup. Mario Circuit, I already kind of talked about it. It's a very iconic track. Yeah, it's fine. Again, I think I prefer Mario Kart Stadium, honestly, but it's a very iconic track, and you can't take that away from it. Toad Harbor is a good track. I like that one quite a bit. I like the vertical wall segment. I like how they have that bit where, you know, it's the San Francisco going down the slope with the cable cars. I like that a lot. That's cool. Twisted Mansion is a good ghost track. We always have, you know, the ghost/haunted mansion track in pretty much every Mario Kart game. This one I think is probably one of the better ones. It's solid. Shy Guy Falls. Shy Guy Falls is another one that I think is kind of like Thwomp Ruins, where I feel like, visually speaking, it's one of the weaker ones in the game. It's, again, one of those ones where I kind of feel like you can see the cracks where you can be like, oh yeah, this is still a Wii U game. It still looks fine, but it doesn't look as good as some of the other tracks. It's also one that I feel like I've played too many times. It's one of those ones where I'm kind of, like, tired of playing it. You know? I'd rather play Thwomp Ruins than play Shy Guy Falls, you know, even if I'm not the biggest fan of Thwomp Ruins, but that's just me. Then we have Star Cup. Sunshine Airport, I think, is a fan favorite. It also has one of the best tracks in the game, like music tracks. But the actual track itself is pretty neat too. It's nothing too crazy, but you know, I like the plain aesthetic. And the music is great, so that's definitely a classic. That's one, like, that's a track that, like, I think would be in most people's, like, top 5, you know, Mario Kart 8 tracks that they would want to see come back in, like, World or whatever. I think Sunshine Airport would be one of them. And Sunshine Airport's also one where, like, they didn't really use zero gravity that much. I mean, yeah, there technically is zero gravity, but not, like, in a way that they can't work around. It's very basic zero gravity, all things considered. They could easily revamp that to work without it. Because most of the track isn't zero gravity, it's just a flat surface, basically, so... I mean, not literally flat, but you know what I mean. Yeah, Sunshine Airport is a great one. Dolphin Shoals is another great one. Again, another great soundtrack with that big sax energy. That's probably peak sax for Mario Kart 8. That one's a good one. Electrodome is also good. And Mount Wario is good. That might actually be the best cup in terms of pure track quality, I think, is the Star Cup. You know, Sunshine Airport, Dolphin Shoals, Electrodome, and Mount Wario. I think that's the strong... I think that Electrodome is the weakest of the 4, but they're all good tracks. I think that's probably the best of, like, the base cups, I would say. Mount Wario. So I think I said earlier that Big Blue is, like, the only one in the game where it's just one long track and does not really lapse. That was a lie. I forgot about Mount Wario. Mount Wario was the first. But yeah, then we have the Special Cup with Cloud Top Cruise, which is another iconic track. Not as good as the others. I think it is one of the weaker. Ironically, I think the track itself is one of the weaker base game tracks, but it does look great, and it has Gusty Garden basically as its theme. So of course the music is good. Bone Dry Ruins, I think, is a good one. Also has a good soundtrack. The Bowser's Castle in Mario Kart 8 is not my favorite Bowser's Castle, but it's solid. And Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road, Mario Kart 8's original Rainbow Road, is definitely one that's divisive. It definitely has its fans, but there's also a lot of people that just don't really care for it that much. I would probably lean myself to being more in that second camp than the first one. I mean, I think it's a fine track, and it definitely has a unique aesthetic. But my biggest issue with it is not really the layout, it's more so the fact that it doesn't really feel like Rainbow Road too much, because it's not really Rainbow Road, it's a space station with rainbow tiles. It doesn't really feel like Rainbow Road in the same way that most of the other Rainbow Roads do, right? You play on Double Dash or DS or Wii or 7's Rainbow Road, and it feels like Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road in 8 doesn't really feel like Rainbow Road. It feels like a space track that just happens to have rainbow-colored tiles. Now, I don't know what the Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road looks like. I have not been spoiled on that yet. I do not want to know what it looks like. The only thing I really know about it is that I've seen the icon, from the map screen that's on the wiki, but that's it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what the layout is. I also don't know how you get there. I don't know if you get shot out of a cannon. I don't know if you can drive up there. I don't know if you teleport there. I don't know, and I don't want to know. I want to find that out for myself tomorrow. But I hope that the Rainbow Road in that game is closer to the classic Rainbow Roads than the one that's in 8. But I also won't be surprised if it is more like 8's than it is the others. But we'll see. So that's kind of my thoughts on, I guess, the base new game tracks. I could talk about the retro tracks, but there's not really much to say about them. They're retro tracks. They're all solid. They all look great. We got some fan favorites in there that, at least for me, like Grumble Volcano. I really liked Grumble Volcano in Mario Kart Wii, so it's great to have that there. Although, ironically, the lava in that track looks worse than the lava in, like, the Booster Course Pass tracks, which is kind of funny. It's one of the rare times where the Booster Course Pass looks better than the base game, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the retro tracks, I mean, Moo Moo Meadows looks great, Mario Circuit looks great, Cheap Cheap Beach looks great, Toad's Turnpike, those all are solid. Dry Desert, which we're going to be playing next in the Banana Cup, looks good. I mean, they all look good. They all look great. They all look great. There's not much to say about it. They all look great. That's really all I have to say about it. And for the first time ever, we got a retro Rainbow Road in the form of the N64 Rainbow Road, which, for some reason, became Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's kind of, like, main, like, visual. Like, that, it's the box art, it's used in a lot of the logos and stuff. It's like, really strange how N64 Rainbow Road became, like, the standard for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm not really sure why that was, but that's what they decided to do, I guess. So let's go ahead and move on to the new courses that were introduced in the Wii U DLC. So first we have Excite Bike Arena. This is a cool one. It's cool to have Excite Bike, another non-Mario franchise, another Nintendo franchise in there. That's cool. Music is kind of cool. It's unique. It's got, you know, that 8-bit energy in there. It's got, you know, it's neat. It's neat. It's very faithful to Excite Bike with all the ramps and stuff, so it's cool. Dragon Driftway is a track that I personally have never really cared for. But it does have a unique aesthetic, being that, you know, that kind of, you know, Chinese theme and everything. And it was used as the basis for... Sorry, and it was used as the basis for a battle mode track in Deluxe. And then Mute City I've already talked about. Mute City is great. It's definitely the best track in the Egg Cup, in that first cup for the DLC. It's great. The remix is great. There's nothing else to really say about it. Wario's Gold Mine, that's a retro track. SNES Rainbow Road. I'll bring up SNES Rainbow Road because, again, it's another Rainbow Road. Although, interestingly, as the second track in the course and not the last one of the cup, like you would think it should be. I'm guessing because it was the SNES one, they were kind of like, this doesn't really qualify as a full Rainbow Road, so we won't put it at the end. But yeah, we got another Rainbow Road, though. That was cool. And it looks great. The reflections on that track look really good. Like, if you ever see the reflections of the coins on SNES Rainbow Road, it looks amazing still. Seeing, like, you know, the vibrant colors bounce off onto those coins looks really good. Then we have Ice Ice Outpost, the first new track of the Triforce Cup. And this is also a bit of an iconic track. It also has a good soundtrack as well. And then we have Hyrule Circuit, which I've already talked about a bit. Not my favorite track layout-wise by any means, but it has a great remix, and it's cool to have a Zelda track. Now we have the Crossing Cup, the first of the second DLC. We have Baby Park and Cheeseland. I've never really been a big fan of Baby Park. Cheeseland, I've already gushed over the graphics. Wild Woods is a track that I used to not really care for that much, but has really grown on me over the years, and I think it's actually one of the stronger tracks in Mario Kart 8, I would say. And then we have the Animal Crossing track, which I think is a fine track. I think it's better than the Hyrule Castle track. And I like how it has the seasons and everything. And it does look really good, but overall I don't have much to say about it. Then we have the Bell Cup with Super Bell Subway, a track that for the longest time showed up in online rotations for the longest. But yeah, overall, again, it's another one of those tracks I didn't really care too much for, but I think I appreciate more now than I did back then. And then we have Big Blue, which I've already talked about. That's a very good one as well. Apologies for the pause there. So yeah, that's the base game tracks covered, basically. I could talk about the booster course tracks a little, but we can comment on them when we get around to them. So yeah, what else can we talk about? I think I kind of covered Mario Kart 8 Deluxe pretty much. I've kind of said what I need to say about it. So what else can we talk about? Well, earlier today, for those of you that did see or didn't see, we got a state of play, which I did do a reaction stream for, if anyone's curious or anyone's interested. Although I didn't start streaming until like 10 minutes in because I was on a call with Ethan. And so I didn't start streaming until 10 minutes in, but still. The biggest announcement we got out of that event that at least interested me was definitely that new Arc Sys Marvel game. That's pretty cool. It's not a game I'm ever gonna play because I'm not really interested in those games personally, but it looks really cool, and I'm sure it's gonna be a big deal in the fighting game space. I mean, it's Arc Sys; they're kind of legends, and you know, and also people have been wanting a new Marvel game, a new Marvel fighting game for forever, right? You know, when's Marvel? That whole thing. You know, Marvel vs. Capcom has been in a slump for a long time. We, of course, had Infinite years ago, and that didn't work out, and all that stuff, and we haven't had a new game since. So this is the closest thing to Marvel vs. Capcom 4 that we've ever had, so that's cool for all that stuff, but yeah, I don't know, overall, I would say it was a decent showing for a state of play. There's a decent amount of stuff in there, like Final Fantasy Tactics was in there. Pragmata got another showcase for again. That game was announced in 2020 for a 2022 release, and it has a release date of 2026. Oh man, that game is taking like the whole that game is getting to like Prime 4 territories of like taking the entire generation to come out, but we'll see. Yeah, what else is there really to talk about? Honestly, there really isn't that much else to talk about because anything I could be talking about would be relevant if I... Yeah, I don't really know what else to talk about, honestly, because, like, it's just kind of like... Wait, there's really nothing else to talk about. I mean, but we need to talk about something, because we still have a lot of tracks to get through here. I mean, we might not do all of them. No, okay. Okay, here's what I will say. We're not doing the battle mode at this point. It'd be nice to do the battle mode, but it's obvious with how long this is going to take that no. We're going to get to the end of the booster course pass, and I'm going to consider that good enough. It'd be nice to play the battle mode, but we can skip it. It's not a big deal. We'll be wasting time on the battle that we could be spending on playing all the other tracks. Oh man, this is really awkward. What else is there to talk about though? There's like nothing else for me to talk about. That's the problem. Like the only other thing to talk about is the Switch 2, but I don't have a Switch 2 yet. Well, like what was there? There's nothing else to talk about. At least nothing else I can think of to talk about. And we still have a lot of tracks to go, man. I think I didn't realize how long this would be taking. Maybe I should have started the stream earlier than I did. I probably should have started it like an hour, like before I actually did. I didn't realize this was going to take as long. But oh well, I guess, you know, we've started now, we have to see it through. But hey, I mean, if it just means I'm super tired at like 2 a.m., then isn't that a good thing? The sooner I go to bed, the sooner I can wake up in the morning for the Switch 2 to supposedly be on my doorstep. Because as I've said a couple times before, Walmart's initial promise when the pre-orders went up was 9 a.m. delivery. Which I am skeptical of, although I did see someone on the Switch 2 subreddit who worked at Walmart say, oh no, it will actually be there by 9 a.m. for all these reasons. And I mean, I hope they're right, but I don't know. That's something I think is a bit of a lofty promise to say 9 a.m. I mean, that'd be great, but I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if it takes a few hours after. If it shows up at 11 or 12 or 1 or 2, that's not the end of the world. Just don't take forever. Don't take all day to show up. That's the only thing I really care about, because I got burned by that with Mario Kart 8, ironically enough, back in the day when I ordered it from Amazon, and Amazon took like all day. It took like, you know, until like 7:38 at night for it to finally show up, and that was really annoying. Obviously, Walmart is not going to take that long. It will show up way sooner than that, even if it doesn't show up at 9 or 10 or whatever. AM, that is. But, I don't know. But obviously, the sooner it shows up, the better. I am way further ahead than everyone. I mean, I know we're just fighting against CPUs right now, but still. What was I saying? What was I saying? But, yeah, it's like, yeah, what do we talk about, though? I mean, what do we talk about? One thing I don't think I've mentioned so far is that, alongside the Switch 2, it's not coming at the same time as the Walmart order, but I did order a few days ago off Amazon one of the RDS cases. If you don't know who RDS is, they've been making Switch cases since 2017. I have one of their Switch cases. It's really good. They're very high quality, and they're cheaper than the official cases that are coming out. The official carrying case is $35, and like the all-in-one case is like 80 something. Their all-in-one case is like 40, and their like equivalent of the $35 case is 20. But the one I'm getting is the $30 one that is deeper and has room for like a dock or a Pro controller if you wanted. So I could have the Switch 2 and the dock and the HDMI and the power cable, or I could have the console and a Pro controller and maybe some extra Joy-Cons. So you get some flexibility there, and that will probably cover most instances I'd want to take it somewhere. But I definitely wanted to get one that had more room for stuff, you know, so I could fit a controller or a dock in there if I wanted, but I didn't want, like, the big one that I wouldn't be able to take on most occasions. I mean, I would like to have that big kind of all-in-one style one where you can fit most of your stuff in there, but, there wouldn't be many cases where that would really be viable. So yeah, I think the mid-range, like, $30 one is probably going to be the one that I think most people should probably get. It's supposed to come at launch, although I'm sure the console will show up before the case does. if by some chance the case shows up, you know, around the time that the console does or whatever, then I'll try and include that in the unboxing video. Otherwise, maybe I'll do another unboxing video for it, but I'm not really sure if it's going to be worth it. I'll do it for the console, of course, because it's the console, but yeah, I'm not sure though if I'll do it for yeah. If I'll do a separate unboxing for the case. But I will do an unboxing, almost certainly at least, for the console. Even though I don't really have to, because everyone else is going to be doing one, but it's a big deal. I kind of want to do one, but we'll see. Oh man, I really don't have anything else to talk about. It's really annoying. Then again, am I going to have enough stuff to talk about tomorrow? Well, that one has the advantage of being Mario Kart World, so that will probably carry the stream no matter what. But God, what do I gotta find something to talk about, because we got like another hour in front of us at least. So here's kind of my plan here, is we're gonna go until like, I'm gonna say 2 p.m. is the cutoff, because that's when I would normally go to bed anyway. That's like the latest I would go to bed. So that'll be the cutoff. I mean, I could go as long as I want, but again, I'm gonna be up at like 10 in the morning, maybe even earlier. And not because of the Switch 2, mind you, that's when I normally get up anyway, but like now I have an extra incentive to be up that early. But again, we'll see. We'll see if it really shows up at 9 a.m. I'm not really 100% convinced of that, but again, I'll let them prove me wrong. And I hope Walmart proves me wrong. I hope they do. Although, frankly, if it shows up at 10 or 11, I'll consider that close enough. It's more so if we get to like 12 and beyond, I'm gonna ding them on that at that point. Yeah, man. Yeah, I did not realize how long this was going to be. I mean, I knew this was going to take up a decent amount of time, but I think now I'm like really like, oh, this really is going to take like a lot longer than I realized it would. Oh, man. You know, sometimes I kind of forget that this track is even in the game. Probably because for the longest time it never really got played that much, and then it's like, oh yeah, this track is in this game. I don't know why, I kind of forget it half the time. And it's not like this is a track I forget about. This is a Double Dash track, and again, Double Dash was my first Mario Kart. So this is a track I very much remember. I just always forget that it's in Mario Kart 8, you know? As opposed to, like, Yoshi's Circuit, where I know that's in Mario Kart 8 because it comes up in the online rotation all the time. This track isn't nearly as common. It's probably the least common of all the GameCube tracks that are in this game, whether it's base game or booster course. Yeah, I probably should check my Walmart order just to see if there's any difference. I don't think it's going to change really until, like, it doesn't matter anymore. I expect it to just stick to, like, tomorrow by 10 p.m. until, like, it starts moving. And by the time it starts moving, for real, it won't matter because it'll be here. At least that's the idea. I'll go ahead and check just to see if there's any difference. Reload. Nope, it's still the same. Arrives tomorrow by 10 p.m. Has not changed. Oh, man. So you want to know a track in this game I kind of don't want to play on anymore? This is one of them. This is one I feel like I've played enough. It's kind of this and, like, DK Jungle from Mario Kart 7. These are both Mario Kart 7 tracks I've kind of played enough. Which one do I like more? I'm going to say this one right now, but they're kind of in a similar camp. Where I feel like I've played them enough, you know? Now, technically speaking, we could just finish the base game and call it a day. And by base game, I mean, you know, the Wii U DLC is the base game, as far as I'm concerned. It's the base game of Deluxe, at least, which is what we're playing, so... We could do all of that, and we could call it a day there if I really didn't want to do all the others, and we might. We'll see. I would like to do all of them, but it might take way too long, but... Then again, I do enjoy playing the Booster Course tracks more because they're newer, and I haven't played them as much, so who knows. Yeah, honestly, though, I think, because we're already nearing 12, honestly, I think there's a decent chance we'll just end it with the base game, because I think the Booster Course Pass will be like another 2 hours or something, and I don't want to stream another 2 hours. If I'm being honest. Maybe if we'd done it earlier in the day, I could have justified that, but I don't think I realized how... I thought this would be a lot quicker. I thought we could get through everything in like 2.5 hours. I don't think that's going to happen, so I think we're just going to have to cut the Booster Course Pass off, which is unfortunate, but you know what? As much as I'd like to do the Booster Course Pass, the Booster Course Pass doesn't introduce any new original tracks. They're all just existing tracks from other games, and that includes the Tour ones. And that includes the ones that the game erroneously labels as new tracks, even though they're not new, they're from Tour. So sticking with the base game, you know, which is really true Mario Kart 8 anyway, isn't a huge deal. Yeah, I think, especially because I've run out of things to talk about and no one's really watching anyway, I think we're just gonna call it with... We'll finish off the base game tracks with like Big Blue, and then we'll just run the credits, and then that'll be it, and that'll be that. Honestly, I'm even questioning if I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow. I mean, I'm sure I will do a stream tomorrow, but there's a part of me that's like, you know what? Maybe I should, you know, fully embrace myself in the Switch 2 and Mario Kart World, and not kind of like let the stream kind of dilute that. I don't think this is one of those games where the stream would really dilute it much, but I don't know. We'll see. I feel like it's a no-brainer that I'll stream it tomorrow, but I am a little worried about running out of things to talk about. That wouldn't be as big of a problem if I had other people to play with, but I'm not really going to have any of that. At least not people I know, so... We'll see. I guess I know one thing I can talk about real quick. So, recently I sent in my Splatoon 2 Pro Controller as well as my Splatoon 2 Joy-Cons that I've had for a long time. The Pro Controller I've had since I got it in 2017 alongside the game. So I've had it for 8 years. Almost 8 years anyway. And the Joy-Cons I've had for not as long as that, but I've had them for like at least 4 or 5 years at this point, I think. They're not my original Joy-Cons. My original Joy-Cons were gray. Then eventually I got the Splatoon 2 ones. Or more accurately, I got the Splatoon 2 shells, put them on the existing Joy-Cons, and I eventually had them sent in. I got proper ones later. And those have been the ones I've had for a while. And then last month, I went ahead and I bought red and blue Joy-Cons for the first time ever, because I wanted those a long time ago, and I figured I may as well get them now. 8 years too late, so I can have it match alongside the Switch 2's Joy-Cons, which of course are also red and blue, albeit not nearly as strong. They're mostly black with red and blue accents, but still. And I would sell the pink and green ones, since I don't need another set of Joy-Cons, especially when I'm going to get another set with the Switch 2 anyway. So I sent in the Pro Controller, got a new one back, which it looks great. I haven't used it yet. I've been deliberately saving both it and the Smash Ultimate controller. I also got a new version of from Nintendo as well, from the replacement rather. I've had those that one sitting around for a while. I've been deliberately saving it so I can use it, get that like fresh controller experience, because I'm not getting a Switch 2 Pro controller at launch because I don't need one. I'll get one at some point, probably when a special edition comes out. But anyways, the whole point of this little tangent is essentially, I sent the Pro Controller in, got a replacement, I have that laying around. I also have an Ultimate Pro Controller laying around. Then, of course, I have a regular Pro Controller that I've had this entire time, which is the one I'm using right now. That's not new. It's the same one I had all the way back then. That I got alongside Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, actually, when it came out. But, yeah. Anyways, so my plan was I would get those Joy-Cons back, and then I would put them up on eBay. But then I realized the new Joy-Cons have better SL and SR like button feel. They were more clicky and less mushy than the other Joy-Cons, the red and blue ones. So I decided to take all 4 Joy-Cons apart so I could swap what I thought would be the rubber, but it turns out it's not the rubber, it's actually the motherboard underneath with like the buttons, like the actual real buttons. That was the part that was better. So I swapped those. Put the red and blue ones in the other Joy-Cons, and put the green and pink ones. And the actual motherboard obviously isn't those colors, but yeah, I swapped them basically. I swapped that aspect of the Joy-Cons between them. So now the SL and SR buttons are a lot better on the red and blue ones, which are ones I intend to keep. And all was well and good until I accidentally screwed up, because those ribbon cables are really annoying to deal with on the Joy-Cons for anyone that hasn't taken one apart before. And I accidentally broke off the lock for one of the ribbon cables. And it won't go back on no matter how hard I try, because it's really, 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 really hard, if not impossible. So I've kind of just given up on it. Although the cable still works if you apply enough pressure, but it won't. And I tried tape, and that didn't really work too well, so yeah. So that Joy-Con I kind of screwed up. And then the pink one of the cables got bended too much, and now it won't detect properly. The controller itself works just fine, but if you slide it into the system, it will charge, but it will not show up as connected to the console. So basically, I kind of screwed up those 2 Joy-Con in the process of swapping that motherboard. Yeah. My fault, kinda. I'm thinking of sending them back in at some point. We'll see. But yeah, so basically now I have 2 pseudo-broken pink and green Joy-Cons lying around that I can't really do anything with, and I probably can't send in again for at least a while. At least I feel like I have to wait. So I'll probably wait a few months, and then I'll attempt to send them in again, and we'll see how that goes. Or maybe I'll just eat it, and we'll just use them for parts for the other controllers going forward. I don't know. But essentially, I have 2 pseudo kind of broken Joy-Con that still technically work, but aren't fully functional or whatever. I was going to get rid of them anyway, but now it's going to be way harder to get rid of them unless I get them fixed again. So yeah, so I just put them in a bag, and I'm just putting them off like in the corner or whatever. So yeah, so I technically have an extra set of Splatoon. So I technically have those Joy-Con, but they may as well not exist. Honestly, I might just throw them in with whatever I sell on eBay next as just a, like, you know what, take it. I just want this out of my way. I don't want to deal with it anymore. If you can fix it, or if you want to use them as is, go for it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. That might sound crazy to just kind of give that away, but, like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But what I do have is, but the red and blue Joy-Con work perfectly. I didn't break anything on them, thankfully. So they still work great. The buttons on them are great. So that means grand total for Switch controllers, I have my black Switch Pro controller, my Splatoon 2 Switch Pro controller, my Smash Ultimate Switch Pro controller, and then my red and blue Joy-Cons, and then I'm going to have, of course, the new Switch 2 Joy-Cons, which will bring the controller amount up to 7. That's 4 individual Joy-Cons, and then 3 Pro controllers, which is really all the controllers I will ever need anyway. But again, I'm gonna end up getting a Switch 2 Pro controller at some point. It's going to happen at some point. Probably when a special edition controller comes out that I like. Maybe Splatoon 4, maybe the next Smash game, maybe something else, I don't know. Like if we get a Kirby Air Riders themed controller, which I doubt we'll get, but if we got one for that, maybe I'd consider getting that. I don't know. But if I'm gonna get a controller I don't even need, then I'm gonna get one that has like a, that has like a good design. Is kind of my idea, but we'll see. $11:52. We've been going for an hour, almost 2 hours now. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it. Yeah, we are definitely not doing the booster course pass. Sorry, but that's just not happening. Yeah, we're gonna definitely, yeah, we're gonna do the Wii U DLC, and we're calling it. I'm gonna consider that good enough. At least I did all of base Mario Kart 8, what's really true Mario Kart 8 anyway, so it's still close enough, I'd suppose. But I would have liked to have done the booster course pass, but I did not realize how long this was gonna take. So, speaking of, since, of course, Switch 2 is obviously the big thing, so we, of course, have those free updates, like Mario Odyssey and ARMS and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the 2D Zeldas and stuff. But we also, so those updates are live. Also, the Switch 2 Day 1 patch is live, and Mario Kart World's Day 1 patch is also live. But also, we got a couple of patches for other Switch games that aren't like Switch 2 enhancement patches, but more so Switch 2 compatibility patches to improve compatibility. Like Xenoblade 3 got one, Mario Wonder got one, 3D All-Stars got one, surprisingly. So yeah, a couple of like games that aren't getting like free upgrades, at least as of right now, did get some compatibility updates. So that's neat, I suppose. I am, of course, going to be trying out a bunch of those upgrades. Like, I'm going to be trying the Odyssey upgrade, of course, the Zelda upgrades, which come with NSO expansion packs, so I don't have to pay for them. ARMS. I might even try ARMS. I haven't played ARMS in a really long time, but I'll fire that up to see what it looks like, see what the higher resolution is, and whatever. Probably not on stream, I'll just do that on my own. I think the stream is going to just be about Mario Kart, pretty much. I'm so far ahead. Yeah, going against the CPUs, there's like no challenge. It's probably also not helping with the stream, I'll admit. But I wanted to do the Grand Prix because I kind of wanted to do it, you know, the authentic way, as opposed to just doing online matches for 2 hours and hoping I get all the tracks, you know? Even though that would have been more entertaining, probably, but oh well, what are you gonna do? Mario Kart World, we will definitely do some online stuff for. It probably won't be the only thing we do, but we'll definitely do some of it. Here we go. The end of the road for the original base game content. Not the end of the Wii U version, but the end of the base game. N64 Rainbow Road. Has a great remix. Very fitting for what was originally the last track in the game. Now, I know that this version of N64 Rainbow Road is kind of controversial because it's shorter. Now, I didn't grow up with Mario 64. Heck, I've barely played Mario 64. So I can't really speak to how long the actual version of the track is. But I do know it's longer. I know that. And not just because I've heard people say it for years, but because I have played it a couple of times, and it's definitely longer. But I also don't think that that makes this version of the track worse. I think this version of the track is just fine. This is another one, by the way, now I think about it, where you're not really doing laps. It's like one long track, pretty much. Although not quite in the same way that it is for Mount Wario or Big Blue. Whereas those ones really are just one long track with a definitive endpoint. This one doesn't have a definitive endpoint. It technically does go in a loop. It is a connecting track, but you don't actually do all that. It's just one lap in practice. Alrighty then. So now we're going to see the credits again that we already saw before. Ugh, yeah, I'm definitely tired. More tired than I thought I would be. Probably doesn't help that I did spend that 40 minutes earlier today trying to record that Mario Kart 8 video. That probably doesn't help. But so yeah, here we go. We got the credits again. That you're gonna see again later at the end of the stream twice, basically. I will play the booster course credits though. Like we won't get around to playing it, but I'll at least show the credits for it, because the music for the booster course credits is probably my favorite. Like the Mario Kart 8 just base credits theme is good too, but I really like the booster course credits theme. It's this big celebration of like Mario Kart and Tour especially. It's basically a Tour showcase. I don't think Tour has a credits theme. So the Booster Course Pass basically is the Tour credits theme, and it sounds really, really good. Oh yeah, so I just realized something I can talk about real quick. There's not much to say about it, but a few days ago, we got another one of those creators' voice things, which is basically Nintendo kind of showcasing like third-party developers. And we got a special edition. It wasn't very long, and there wasn't much in it. It was mostly kind of just flattery, but it was still cool. We got the Jensen Huang, the leather coat wearing, $3,000 GPU having, AI obsessed, having whatever. We got Jensen in a Nintendo video. Yes, I know the GPUs aren't literally $3,000, but I'm memeing, obviously. Yeah, we got Jensen, right? The Jensen with the leather coat and everything. That was cool. And of course, he was talking about how the Switch 2 has the most advanced mobile processor, whatever. Even though it's not. I mean, it's a good processor, and it's way better than the Switch 1's, but obviously it's not new. It's from, like, 2021 or whatever, but I don't know. It's kind of funny how he's like, it's the most advanced mobile graphics ever or something, even though it's not. I don't know, it was just kind of funny, but it was cool to see him there, though. It was cool to see him there, just for the heck of it. And, more importantly than that, oh, wait, no. Not the regular version. And we're gonna do the Master Cycle. for... Is it this one? Or is it the other one? Oh, never mind. That's that one. Okay, okay, never mind. I'm kind of trying to do this in like a structured kind of way. We'll do Yoshi, I guess. Yeah, we'll just do Yoshi. And sure, we'll do the Yoshi, whatever. We've been doing the regular cart this whole time. Let's do something different. Sure that, I guess. Yeah, we got Jensen in a video, and he was kind of talking about how, you know, Nintendo has a very strong relationship with us. We've been working with them for like a decade, and, you know, the day when, like, you know, Iwata kind of showed up with his vision for the Switch, because, of course, Iwata was there for the early stages of the Switch's development in 2015 and whatnot, and that was cool to see Iwata mentioned. Anytime there's a Nintendo video of any kind where Iwata gets mentioned, that's like immediately, that's like free credit, basically, right? It's extra credit. It's just free points. It's free positive PR to just mention Iwata in anything. I mean, I do think he genuinely means that, to be clear. I don't think he's just saying that for the heck of it. But it is just kind of funny how, like, he mentioned Iwata, like, a couple of times in the video. But yes, we got Iwata mention, and obviously he's like, you know, hey, you know, the custom power and the partnership with Nintendo, all that stuff. So yeah, that was cool. It was by no means some deep dive. He didn't talk about transistors or tensor cores or anything like that. He didn't even mention that it was a Tegra. He didn't even mention that it was a Tegra, or even that was the T239. He just said it was like an NVIDIA custom processor. Even though we know it's a Tegra, like the Switch, and we know it's the T239, but whatever. Yeah, no, that was cool. The comments were all like, hey, look, he's finally talking about something that's not AI. And then most of the comments were talking about, you know, Iwata. You know, anytime there's a video where Iwata gets mentioned up, it just everyone loses their minds when Iwata gets brought up. So, of course, all the comments were like, you know, all talking about Iwata and everything. And obviously, Iwata was a big deal. Right? Obviously. But even I'm a little kind of like, look, I love Iwata too, but like, maybe we don't need to talk about it to that extent, you know? I do think Iwata and Reggie also kind of get brought up a lot these days when talking about, like, you know, what people kind of see as like the golden era of Nintendo, which is during that kind of like 2000s to 2010 to like mid 2010s era when they were kind of like the heads and everything. And there are definitely things from that era I miss for sure. And there's no doubt that Nintendo's different now. There's no doubt about that. But I would think it's a bit too blatant and kind of obvious to just kind of go down the route of old good, new bad. It's obviously a very complex topic to an extent. And that could maybe be a whole video. In fact, speaking of a video I'd like to do, in a long list of videos that I say I will do and never end up happening, but this one really is a time-sensitive one, is I would like to actually do a kind of Iwata, you know, Iwata after Nintendo 10 years later type thing, when Iwata's passing comes up on the 10-year anniversary in July. Because obviously Nintendo has changed. In some ways it's not changed that much, but in other ways they've changed a lot. And so I think it'd be really interesting to talk about kind of like, you know, how much have they changed and how much of it's for the better and how much of it's for the worse. Because I would say, in some respects, they're a lot better now than they were back then, but in some other ways, it's not as great, so... And some of them are obvious. Like, everyone talks about, like, the bland UI. Everyone talks about that. People have been talking about that since the Switch, basically. How the UI is bland and boring and doesn't have any music. And like, everyone's talked about that. But you know, obviously I'm talking about stuff even beyond, you know, the obvious surface-level stuff. But I don't know. That's something I'd like to do, but again, like a lot of things I say I like to do, we'll see. And that's something that wouldn't happen until July anyway, but just a little heads up. It's a video I'd like to do, but we'll see. The one thing I don't know if it's now, obviously, now that Mario Kart World is out, basically, one question I would like to get an answer to is there a performance mode? Because we heard from like someone that was at like one of the like experience events that there was apparently 120 FPS mode, at least in handheld mode, but they've never confirmed that, even though they told us about Prime 4 having a performance mode, like 120 hertz mode. So does it exist? And if it does exist, how does it work? Because the main thing I want to know is, if that 120 hertz mode exists, and if it exists in docked mode, which I don't know why it wouldn't, and it's like probably like, 1080p or 900p or whatever, does it run at 60 FPS in the 4-player split screen? Because in World by default, like it is in every other Mario Kart game, 4-player split screen is 30 FPS. But if you play in 120 hertz mode, assuming it actually exists, does that now mean you get 60 when you're playing in that mode? That's something I'm very, very curious about. Now, of course, if no one else can answer that, I mean, of course, I'll find that out. That's probably how I'll find out, because Digital Foundry, I don't think they're going to have a video up that fast. So I'll probably just find out when I play the game and I look for the option. Assuming it shows up without a 120 hertz screen connected. Now, I can, of course, connect it to a 120 hertz screen. I have a 1440p high refresh rate monitor I can connect it to if I need to do that to get the option to show up in the game. But, or I could just look it up. Obviously, that could also work. But I kind of like to see that for myself. Again, I don't really have anything else to talk about, but come on, we just got 2 more cups. 2 more cups. And then we're at the end of the stream, as far as I'm concerned, at least. Yeah, I was hoping this stream would go over better than it did, honestly. But, oh well, you can't win them all. For what it's worth, this is not the stream to nail. The stream to nail is going to be the Mario Kart World stream. Assuming we still do that. I think the only reason I'm even doubting that right now is just because of how tired I am right now. But I'm sure tomorrow, when I'm all excited and everything, I'm sure I'll want to do it then. But, like I've said before, at least I think I've said already, I'm not going to stream it immediately. I'm going to want to play a bit of the game first. Plus, my brother's probably going to want to play it as well. So we're going to do that first. And then later on in the day, but not as late as we are now, then we'll stream some of it, probably. I might do it on Twitch in addition to YouTube, because it's that big enough of a deal, but we'll see. Oh yeah, so one thing I did not talk about at all when I was talking about kind of the history of Mario Kart there is actually one complaint I have with the DLC that I didn't mention. So we have Mute City, we have Big Blue, and we have the Blue Falcon. You want to know the one thing from that that's missing? The man himself. Why in the world, especially because you were already putting in other Nintendo characters anyway, why didn't you put in Captain Falcon as a playable character? I really don't know why they didn't bother. That's like the biggest missed opportunity in maybe all of Mario Kart 8 history, but definitely for the base game. Like, how the heck did they never add Captain Falcon when they added everything else from F-Zero? But except him, I don't know why. They have the Mii costume, but that's not good enough. No, they should have the man himself, especially because he's not in anything else other than Smash. It's like the whole meme is that he's basically just a Smash character now. You know, like, put him in the actual game. And, of course, there's no point putting him in World, because F-Zero stuff isn't in World. It's in this game. They should have at least added in him to the Booster Course Pass. But I know that the Booster Course Pass was all based on Tour content, and he's not in Tour, nor any of his tracks. But, like, I don't know. It's like, that would have fixed a long-standing wrong. That's definitely something they should have done. Like, that, like, why wasn't that in, like, Wave 1 or Wave 2 of the original DLC? I have no idea. Because if you're going to have everything else from F-Zero, you may as well have him. And they never did it, and I don't know why. Obviously, I'm sure there are mods that exist out there that add him, but he really should just be in the game officially. It's 12/14, which means it's officially June 5th. It's officially Switch 2 Day. For real this time, not just the 9 p.m. whatever. Like, no, it really is June 5th now, at least here on the Pacific Coast. So it really is Switch 2 Day. It really is that now. So now my Walmart order says arrives today at 10 p.m. Because obviously it's now the day of. Minor change. Woo, I know. Okay. So now we can play as Link. Because now we're going to be on the actual cup. Now, if you were to ask me, what track am I most looking forward to playing in World? It's probably Toad's Circuit. Sorry, Toad's Circuit. Toad's Factory. Toad's Factory is probably my favorite track in the entire series. It has one of my favorite soundtracks of the entire series, and I have been wanting it back for a long, long time. but I'm very glad it got added now and not in the Booster Course Pass, because the Booster Course Pass added basically every track from Wii except that one. I mean, there's not. I mean, we also didn't get Dry Ruins, but we got most of them. Most of the tracks from Mario Kart Wii are in this game, this one included, but not Toad's Factory. And I'm actually glad we didn't get it in the Booster Course Pass, because if we did, then it would be the tour version. And as far as I know, there is no tour version of that track. But my point is, it would have looked worse. But now we get the full fat experience. So yeah, and we've already heard the remix in the trailer, and it sounds great. So that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. The one I'm actually very curious about is Sky High Sunday. The only track that's technically a Mario Kart 8 original, even though it really isn't. All of those, like, you know, Ninja Hideaway and Squeaky Clean Sprint and all that stuff, those are not 8 tracks. They call them 8, well, they call them new tracks in the Booster Course Pass. No, they're not new. They're tour tracks, just like the city tracks are. They just don't call them that for some reason. But no, they're tour tracks. They are tour tracks, 100%. But yeah, it's the only track from Tour in the game. Even though Piranha Plant Pipeline, I believe is what it's called, the only track from Tour that's not in the Booster Course Pass, they could have added that one, and they didn't. But what they did do at Sky High Sunday is they took a track that people didn't really like in the original version, and they made it at least look a lot better, and better layout-wise as well. So they basically fixed Sky High Sunday, essentially, as far as I can tell, so that's good. Although I still wonder why they chose that one. Of all the tracks from Tour, you chose that one. And most of the other ones would have been a better choice, but hey, it looks a lot better, both visually and layout-wise, so I'll take it. In terms of the new tracks, I haven't really looked at the new tracks too closely on purpose. The only one I really know the layout for is, of course, the starting one, Mario Bros. Circuit. But all the other ones I barely know the layout for, kind of on purpose. I didn't want to look too closely at them because I kind of want to experience all the new tracks myself, you know? Plus, there's those mini tracks in between, like they have, like I know they have like the SNES Ghost Valley tracks are kind of like built into the world, but they're not like proper tracks and stuff. So I'm very curious to see, you know, all the little possibilities that has to offer. In addition to the actual proper tracks themselves. Two hours, 27 minutes. That's where we're at right now for time. Yeah, I see a Spawn Wave did a midnight launch stream. Rogers Base already has a Switch. Switch 2, he got one earlier in the day from Nintendo themselves. So they are, so even though they're not sending out review units to like IGN and stuff, they are sending out Switch 2s to like certain content creators. So that's something, I guess. I mean, Rogers Base is obviously one of the big Nintendo channels, or at least one of the big Nintendo fan channels. I say that only because this channel is not, strictly speaking, based around Nintendo. I mean, I know him for his Nintendo stuff, and that's why I follow him. Mostly for his reactions, but he also obviously has a big focus on anime and manga, especially One Piece. That's kind of, you know, the thing that his channel is built around that isn't Nintendo. But anyway, sending one to Rogers Base makes sense, but it's just kind of weird that they're sending one to him, but not like IGN or GameSpot or Polygon or Kotaku. I mean, I know that a lot of people don't like those websites, but I'm just saying it's just kind of odd as well. So Ethan is not getting a Switch 2 at launch. First, because he didn't get one during the pre-orders, and second, because Nintendo never sent him an invite, or me an invite, so he could get one through me by proxy. And he's personally not really thrilled with Mario Kart World, so what he's gonna do is he's just gonna, instead of going through the riffraff of trying to get a Switch 2 at launch, and going all the stores and whatever, or having to deal with all that, he's just going to wait until DK comes out next month, because he is really excited for that. And he's just going to get one then. And not the bundle, just the console itself. He's not really going to get Mario Kart at this point, at least as far as I know he's not. Maybe that'll change, I don't know, we'll see. I mean, if I ever get that invite from Nintendo for the My Nintendo Store thing, which is registered for the bundle right now, obviously I'll offer it to him still. I'm like, hey, I know you said you don't really want Mario Kart anymore, but hey, I got the invite. You still want it? Maybe he'll be like, yeah, screw it. Maybe he'll be like, ah, screw it. It's still only $50 for the game at that point. Or maybe he'll be like, nah, I'll just wait. And if that's the case, fine. I'll just let the invite expire, and then they'll open up a slot for someone else. For someone else to get it. See, he's not getting a Switch 2, at least right now, until DK comes out. And by then, stock will probably be more plentiful anyway. It'll be a month. Most of the people that really want to get one, the hardcores, will probably have one at that point, assuming that stock is kept at a reasonable pace. I mean, obviously the days of the PS5 and Series X fiasco are long over. You know, we're not in pandemic shortages anymore. I'm expecting it to be more like the Switch 1, where the Switch 1 was unobtainium for a good month, but by the time you got to April, and especially May, you could pretty much get one. They'll probably be like that, so by the time DK comes out, he'll probably be able to get one fairly easily anyway. Assuming we don't get an invite before then, but we'll see. We'll see. Here we go, Hyrule Circuit. With the signature character on the signature bike. Now, of course, even if he doesn't end up getting Mario Kart World through a bundle or whatever, he'll still be able to play it to some extent, because we can just do, like, the virtual card thing. Or we can try doing just, like, the pass-enabled, like, primary, secondary, or whatever the heck the workaround is for that. Because while you can't play the same game twice anymore, I know that that isn't a thing anymore, which I'm surprised was even a thing in the first place. The old method of, like, you can if you have, like, the online license feature turned on your account, you can still use pretty much the old method for the first part in addition to the virtual game card. So, like, for example, if I wanted to play, say, Animal Crossing, which is one of my few digital games on Switch. Most of my games are physical, but Animal Crossing and ARMS are the only two first-party games I have that are digital. So if I did a virtual, so even if I didn't do the virtual game card thing, if I put my account on my Switch 1 after I get the Switch 2, and the Switch 2 is set to a primary console and the Switch 1 is set to a secondary console, I can still just play the game even without doing the virtual game card thing as long as I'm connected to the internet. But I just can't play the game at the same time on both systems, basically, which I think is fair enough, I suppose. Again, I'm surprised that was even a thing at all, and apparently they even promoted it at one point, which is surprising, which is why people got mad when they closed that loophole, but I don't know. I never really used it myself, so it didn't really affect me, but anyways, point is, he'll find a way to play my copy of the game one way or another, even if he doesn't get it himself. So he'll still end up playing it and trying it out at least. But I know he's not paying $80 for it. That he made that line in the sand immediately. He's like, I'm getting this through the bundle, or I'm not getting it at all. So again, maybe if he can find the bundle, or maybe he'll say screw it. But last he told me, he said he's not even going to get the bundle anymore. He's just going to skip Mario Kart this time around. Which, I mean, hey, if that's what he wants to do, then that's fine, you know? I mean, that would obviously be unthinkable for me. Mario Kart's one of, like, the day ones, no matter what kind of games. But if he wants to skip, if he doesn't think it's worth it, then he doesn't think it's worth it, and that's totally fine. Even at $50, like obviously 80 I get, but like 50, like I feel like at 50, and even then, no matter what. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. Maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't. It is what it is. Alrighty, 2 more cups to go, and then we are done for tonight. Is the first or second? You know what? It doesn't matter which one it is, because we're going to do both of them anyway. Oh, so that is the first one. Whatever, we're going to do Isabelle for the other one anyway. Yeah, once the stream is done, I'm probably just gonna, like, go to bed. Because, like, I may as well. I'm kind of tired anyway. And then, obviously, we'll wake up in the morning at 9, 10, whenever I end up getting up. And, we will see if Walmart kept that initial promise or not. And, of course, if it does show up when I'm up, I will make a community post. And then I will probably do an unboxing, but I'd like to do one, but we'll see. But I will definitely do a community post showing that, hey, look, I have it, at the very least. It's going to be kind of weird, though, having two Switches at the same time, because I've never had two Switches before. There was a time where I thought about getting a Switch Lite for cheap off eBay, just for the heck of it, but I've never had two Switches. I've only had one Switch my entire life so far. And that is my original Switch from April 2017. I never got a Lite, I never upgraded to the OLED. I've been on that original 2017 Switch for 8 years. And it's definitely seen better days. It still works fine, obviously, as is evidenced by this stream. But it's definitely seen better days, and it's definitely time for it to be retired as a main console. And frankly, it's been time for that for a couple of years. But I couldn't justify the OLED because it wasn't any faster, and also I don't play in handheld mode enough to justify it. So for me, it wasn't really worth it, especially because I would lose my modding capability. Well, easy modding capability, because you can homebrew the OLED and Lite, but it's a lot harder than it is on those OG 2017 era Switches where where you can just do the, the red RCM slide in thing and you're done. So I'm curious to see how that goes and try out, various things with that. So I mentioned this way earlier in the stream, but Cheeseland, this track, whatever, might be the best looking track in the entire game. It looks really, 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 really good. Like, this looks like it could be on this looks like a PS4 game. Like, this looks like a PS4 game, but it's on the Wii U. Like, it's crazy. Again, the stream won't really do it justice with my 1080p compressed whatever. I would love to stream at higher resolutions, and I have the bandwidth for it, but I'd have to lose latency in the process. Like, I would love to stream at 4K tomorrow, especially because this is the first 4K Nintendo console finally. But unfortunately, while I have the bandwidth to do it, no problem, mostly. I mean, the bandwidth itself is fine, but sometimes the YouTube likes to be weird with that. When I do too high of a bitrate, it kind of freaks out for some reason. Even if it's a bitrate that's within the recommended limits sometimes, but that's beside the point. Anyways, I would love to stream at 4K, but if I do that, then I have to go down to normal latency. I might do 1440p as like a middle ground, which is what I've done in the past. I've been streaming at 1080p for like most of this year, but for the longest time I did 1440p. We might go back to 1440p for tomorrow's stream though, so we could have at least better than 1080p and better bit rates, but still having decent latency. Whew. I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but I actually like this track a lot more than I used to. I used to not really care for it, but I definitely appreciate it a lot more now. You know, I know this should be obvious, but it really is gonna feel weird to play a new Mario Kart game for the first time in 11 years. I know it should be obvious, but it really, again, I was 14. I was at the very end of middle school when Mario Kart 8 came out, just before I started high school. I was 14 then, and I'm 25 now. And we're now finally getting a new game with a new engine and a new gameplay style. Like, it's not just going to be Mario Kart 8, but better. It's different. Whether that's strictly speaking better is a different conversation that people have had and will continue to have as the game goes on and people get to actually play it. But it's going to be something different. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to again bring this chapter of Mario Kart and Nintendo history and even history of my life to a close. It's just kind of like, I mean, I'm not gonna act like Mario Kart is new. Mario Kart is not Smash. It's not as big of a deal to me as Smash. Smash is like the pinnacle of the mountain. It's the thing that like it takes priority over everything else. But Mario Kart is still a big one. Mario Kart is still a big deal. It's just not Smash big. So the fact that yeah, this game we've been playing for 11 years. We're finally going to be moving on to not only just a new Mario Kart, but a new version of what Mario Kart can be. With new mechanics, and a new feel, and a new art style. It's going to be very, very strange. After so long. Because there are a lot of people out there who have only ever known this game. I mean, again, I started with Double Dash. That was the first game I ever played. So I've been with the series for every game since Double Dash. But there are a lot of people, because of how long this game has been around, that have only ever known Mario Kart 8. This has been their Mario Kart. This is the one, whether it was with the Wii U or the Switch, this is the only Mario Kart they've known. And they're going to get to experience the release of a brand new Mario Kart for the first time. I've been through a couple of those. Mario Kart 7, but Mario Kart 8 was definitely the big one. Mario Kart 7 was a lot smaller by comparison. But Mario Kart 8, that was a big deal. So that's really the only proper release I've gotten to experience. Like, I remember the wait for Mario Kart 8. I remember the lead up to that very vividly, in a way that I didn't have for Mario Kart 7. So this is really the second time in practice I've really been able to experience the lead up. Even if it hasn't been quite as smooth as I would have liked. With the $80 price tag and everything. Really kind of weighing down the hype train for people. I can't say I blame him, but it is a little annoying in a sense that, like, this is supposed to be a big deal, but it doesn't feel like it because I feel like it's not being kind of, I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is. I would like a physical copy. I really would. I was even tempted to just bite the bullet and get the physical copy and pay the extra $30, but I was like, nah, get the bundle, save the $30, save the $80 purchase for something where you actually need the $80 purchase. If I can get something for cheaper, I'll get it for cheaper. So if I can get it for $50, I'll get it for $50, and I'll just take the hit on it being a digital copy. It's not the end of the world. But obviously, every other game I buy for the Switch 2 will indeed be a physical copy. DK will be physical. Air Riders will be physical. Smash will be physical when that eventually comes out. All that stuff will be physical. Mario Kart will just be the exception, just because of the fact that the bundle exists. If the bundle didn't exist, I would just pony up the $80. It is what it is. I don't like it, but what am I gonna do? Not play the new Mario Kart after 11 years? I'm sorry. You know, that's the unpopular opinion. The popular opinion is, you know, screw the corporations, fight with your wallet, all that stuff. And I get that. I really do, but I'm sorry. There are just certain things I'm not gonna not live without. I'm sorry. A new Mario Kart or a new Smash are those couple of things that are a day one buy no matter what price tag they throw at me. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. But if I can pay less for something, I'll pay less for something. Right? If I can pay $50 to get Mario Kart World, I'll pay $50. And yeah, I'd like a physical copy, but hey, at least I'm getting it for $50. So I'm not paying $80 for it. I'll be saving my first $80 purchase for probably Smash, or maybe the new 3D Mario. I think 3D Mario actually still has a chance of being $70. But the new Smash will definitely be $80 when that comes out, and that's going to be controversial because it's not going to have all the ultimate stuff. There's going to be roster cuts, and it's going to be $80, and that's going to be a big talking point. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it in a couple years or whatever, because that game's not coming out anytime soon with Air Riders being their focus for the last few years. So even if they've already started development on it, and there's a possibility that they've already started pre-production. That game's not coming out till like late 2027 at the earliest, if not 2028. So we're waiting a while. Which is fine, I get it. It's nice to have another game from Sakurai that's not Smash, and I am looking forward to Air Riders, even as someone that didn't play the first one. Simply because it's his next game, and that's the only reason I'm getting it, if I'm being completely honest. But I'm sure it's going to be fun, obviously. He wouldn't come back to his precious pink boy after all these years to make a game that wasn't good. So I'm not worried about the game not being good. It's going to be good. It's just, I'm only really getting it because he's making it. If he wasn't making it, I wouldn't be getting it. I'm basically locked in to buying any game that he makes at this point. Because he will walk away from Smash at some point. It hasn't happened yet, at least not fully. He's said a couple of times that, hey, if they want me to come back, I'll come back. He's never, strictly speaking, shot it down. My assumption is he's not done yet. Ultimate would have been a good time to step away, but I think that he's got at least one more game in him. And he's already talked in the past about how, like, I can't imagine Smash really continuing beyond me. And honestly, I can't really either. I mean, it will. It will. It's inevitable. He's not gonna run Smash forever. But it's hard for me to imagine Smash under someone else's vision when he's the only vision we've ever had. And it's still good. Like, it'd be one thing if this was a franchise where, like, oh, the original creator lost his mind or whatever, and the games aren't good anymore. But, like, this isn't one of those. You know, this isn't Butch Hartman with the Fairly Odd Parents or whatever. You know, Sakurai still makes great games. Every Smash game has been good so far. Some better than others, sure. But the Smash series is still really good as a whole. And pretty much every game he's made has also been good. Kid Icarus Uprising is a beloved classic on the 3DS. People like his Kirby games. People like Air Ride. You know? Now, are his games perfect? No. Obviously they're not. I could list things with every Smash game I have an issue with. But, generally speaking, he still puts out bangers. And I expect Air Riders to be no different. So, as long as he's making games, I'm probably going to get them. I mean, obviously Smash is a given. Even after he leaves Smash, I'm still gonna get them. It's my favorite franchise, but yeah. I wonder when Air Riders is gonna come out. Now that Pokemon's coming out in October, you know, it really does feel like Air Riders is kind of set up for a September, maybe August, but definitely September at the latest type. My guess is, you know, Drag X Drive will be August, because that doesn't have a date yet either. Kirby will be September. Prime 4 will be November, because Pokemon is October, and then Hyrule Warriors will be December. And in fact, I'm going to make a prediction right now that there will not be a big holiday game beyond what we already know. I think, because they already have one game for every month for the rest of the year, I don't think there's some secret big holiday game. So the people out there that are like, maybe the 3D Mario is still coming even though there's DK, which is made by the Odyssey team. Maybe there's still something else. Maybe there's at least some other kind of game that's notable. Maybe there is, but I don't know. I kind of feel like, at least for the Switch 2, I kind of think we know the 2025 lineup. They already have one game for every month of the rest of the year. That's really all they need. And it also replicates what they did in 2017 with the Switch 1, where they had basically one game every month for the rest of the year. At least I think they did. Yeah. 3D Mario's not coming until next year. They'll announce it this year. I think they'll announce it in September when they do all their anniversary stuff for the 40th anniversary of Mario, but it's not coming out until 2026. That's fine. I'm fine with that. We got the new DK in the meantime, as well as some other stuff, but yeah. Ugh, man. Yeah, I am tired. We're almost there. We're almost there. So I guess in retrospect, I really could have just played the Wii U version if I wanted, if we were just going to do the base game and stuff anyway. But hey, the thumbnail of the stream is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though the title is just Mario Kart 8, because to me, Mario Kart 8... to me, it's not Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it's just Mario Kart 8. You know, I don't really think of that Deluxe designation much beyond the formality. Right, we're playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so I have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in the thumbnail, but to me, it's just Mario Kart 8. Whether it's on Wii U or Switch, it's Mario Kart 8. Except Mario Kart 8 on Switch has way more stuff. I think I did that just at, like, the last second. Well, in the sense that, like, I just barely got it. That's what I should have said. So it's more like the opposite of me doing it at the last second. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just kind of cruising along here, and these CPUs are not putting any kind of real fight. $12:47. We're getting close to the 1 a.m. We've been going for almost 3 hours too, so yeah, we're definitely done after Big Blue. I'm not even gonna touch the battle mode. Sorry, it's too late, and we've been streaming long enough. But this is a fitting finale track, though. We're holding on to that drift. You know what this track gives me kind of vibes of? This track kind of gives me like Corneria in Smash Ultimate kind of vibes in terms of like the aesthetic. Which I know is based on the Star Fox Zero version of Corneria, which is after this game, or this track came out, but I'm just saying. And there we go. After basically 3 hours, we have finally completed the vanilla, well, not vanilla. We've completed all the Wii U tracks, all the original Mario Kart 8 Wii U tracks, both the base game and the DLC. Basically what makes the proper Mario Kart 8, long before the Booster Course Pass, with its tour aesthetic and all that stuff. So we at least got that, so that was neat. It would have been nice if we got the Booster Course Pass, but that would have taken us like another 3 hours, and that would not have been worth it, probably even if I had streamed earlier. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Yeah, apologies this stream didn't really turn out the way I wanted. I kind of hoped the stream would have turned out better, but oh well, you can't win them all. But frankly, this one's not the most important thing ever. Hey, look, Mario Kart World is out now. Yeah, I know. I gotta wait for it. Oh, well, that's from the Australia account, though. I also got these ones earlier as well, but these are all, like, Europe or Australia. And by the way, if you go into the NSO app, they are actually giving out, you can now get, Mario Kart World icons, just to hammer home that, yes, it really is June 5th. And of course, you can get these icons even on Switch 1. At least as far as I know, you can do them on Switch 1. It'd be kind of weird for them to put that behind the Switch 2. I mean, I know that they put, like, then again, I heard that they put, like, the icons for, like this. So you see, like, if you want the GameCube icons, which I did get. I normally don't bother with these icons. I normally just use my Mii, but I did actually get all of, like, the NSO icons for all the different consoles. Because why not? But yeah, does the Mario Kart 1 require you to have a Switch 2 or anything? No, it does not. So even on Switch 1, you can still have a Mario Kart World icon. But yeah, for like the GameCube and N64 ones, though, you need to have the expansion pack, which is kind of stupid. But just to have an icon, but whatever. But yeah, Mario Kart World, so yeah, that is it. Yeah, apologies this stream didn't really turn out the way I wanted. I was kind of hoping to be better than this, and I was also hoping to get the Booster Course Pass in there, but oh well, we got all of kind of the core of Mario Kart 8 anyway, with the original Wii U content, so that's close enough, I suppose, and it was a long enough stream. It was a bit of a shame that no one really showed up for the most part, but it was cool to see LAFD Valley Response video show up, because I know he was in was it a Smash stream, or was it something else? I forget what stream it was, but yeah, I remember he did subscribe a few months ago, so it's cool to see him pop up again, albeit briefly, so that was cool. And of course, it's always nice to see Antonio. He's a regular viewer and a real-life friend of mine, so it was always cool. But then again, I can't really blame people for not watching this when everyone's going to be watching or playing World, so it was kind of a fool's errand, but hey, I figured I needed to give this game one more kind of run around, especially with those base game tracks, after all these years, so yeah, but to anyone that did stop by, I did hope you enjoyed it through my rambling and not really talking halfway through the stream because I ran out of stuff to talk about for the most part, but hope you managed to get some kind of enjoyment out of it anyway, and yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. So, yeah, Mario Kart 8. I wish I could say something more profound about this, because this really is the end of an era, right? It's June 5th. The Mario Kart 8 era is technically already over. But you know what? Well, Mario Kart World may be the new, shiny, flashy game that we're going to be all playing for years and years to come. Mario Kart 8 is still going to be a worthy game in the lineup. The fact that it has so many tracks means that it will never not be played. It's kind of like Ultimate. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, in its final form with the Booster Course Pass, is the closest thing to Smash Ultimate that we have for Mario Kart. It's basically Mario Kart Ultimate. Sure, it doesn't have every single racer and every single track, although granted, Ultimate doesn't have every single stage either, but it does have all the fighters. But you get my point. It has so many tracks that even long after Mario Kart World, even after all the DLC it inevitably will get, there will still be a reason to come back to Deluxe. There's just so much content there. So, this is definitely not the end of Mario Kart 8 for me, despite the title. It's the end of an era, which is why I call it a final farewell. But it's definitely not the end of the Mario Kart 8 playing time. And maybe the end of this game's journey. But of course, it's not being retired. It's just being, sent to the locker room for a bit or whatever. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything better to say other than that. You get my point. It's going on the bench for a while, but eventually it will come back out to play whenever I want to play an old tour track or whatever, I will definitely still be playing this game from time to time, even after World. It just has so much stuff in it for me not to. And I do hope it gets a patch at some point. I doubt they will because of World, but it would be cool if it got like a 1440p upgrade or 120 FPS support or something. I don't know. It'd be cool if it got a Switch 2. Not a Switch 2 edition, obviously. They're not going to do that. But like a Switch 2, just like a free update. I think that, especially because it's the best-selling game on the console, I think it totally deserves it. Even though it definitely doesn't need it. And it already got a compatibility update, version 3.0.5, which fixed like a bug with like music parks, like time trials or something. Also updated the game to 64-bit, which for those of you that have ever emulated this game will be very familiar with the fact that up until recently it was 32-bit, even though most of the games were 64-bit. And I assume that was just a holdover from the fact that it's a Wii U game, and the Wii U was 32-bit. But so they've already done a compatibility update to improve compatibility, so maybe they won't do a free update. I don't know. It'd be cool if it did, though. It doesn't need it, though. The game looks just fine as is, but it would be cool if it got one. But enough rambling. It's almost 1 a.m., and I'm tired. So we're going to go ahead and run the credits. I know we kind of saw them already, but we're going to run all the credits. It's going to be the original Mario Kart 8 vanilla credits from the Wii U version, which is different than the one that's in Deluxe, at least by a little bit. And then we're going to have the Deluxe one that we already saw a couple of times before, and then we'll play the Booster Course one, all in order. And, yeah. So long, Mario Kart 8. You served us well for a very, very long time. And you're definitely not dead. You're definitely not a dead game, but you're definitely going on the bench for a while. While we move on to the long-awaited new title. But thank you for all these years of enjoyment, and for also being the last Mario Kart game from the Iwata era. And I guess with that being said, this is Logan59XP, and I'll see you guys next time, tomorrow, for Mario Kart World and the Nintendo Switch 2. But until then, so long, Mario Kart 8. Goodbye, everyone.